I do know that the clock has gone forward an hour, but I thought I'd come on early because there might be people in America who are not aware of the time-saving hours. So I know that you might not be here. Oh my God, I didn't make it live. Cafe, did you put it on public?
Yes.
Okay. I know that there are many of you that might not be here with us, especially those from Jamaica. So, BlaXit family, I know that I'm a bit early, so I've come on at this time to catch people that might not be aware of the time-saving hours. I did put it out on the community page, so I'm gathering that those that are here didn't see it. So I've come on early just in case you did not see it. So welcome, let yourself be known to BlaXit. Please let me know your name. I'm Nyancho Kajabi, I'm your host. I'm also the founder and CEO of BlaXit. I'm just pouring myself some water. Nyancho Kajabi, AKA Juliet. A lot of people say to me, oh, why didn't you mention your surname and all this? That's because it's a slave name. And I prefer my chosen name. Nyancho means warrior, and I do believe that I'm a bit of a warrior. So welcome to BlaXit, welcome, thank you for joining us. We wouldn't have a live, of course, if it wasn't for you. So let me thank you personally for being here today. Okay, and today's a very special show. I'm commemorating this to the islands of Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba, who suffered a terrible storm. She called herself Melissa, but me not like her, see? Me not love Melissa. Melissa come and she want to destroy everything. She want to come to Jamaica and mash everything up, but me not love her. You understand? Because Jamaica take enough beating. I need no more beating. Me was there in Gilbert in 1988 and me not love it. Anyway, so enough of that. That was just me saying, you know, I was just talking about Melissa, Hurricane Melissa, if you didn't understand the accent. I used to live in Jamaica in my formative years. My mother thought it was safer for us to be there rather than live in England. Okay, so our parents shipped us out to Jamaica, and during the time that we lived in Jamaica, Hurricane Gilbert hit in 1988. So I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar. I hope you've heard of Jamaica. You know about everything Jamaican, from Bob Marley to, you know, Nanya the Maroons to everything. So today's show is really dedicated, and I want to give a moment of silence to those that have suffered and those that have perished as a result of not only Hurricane Melissa, but all of those hurricanes that have happened before. Because we're not supposed to be in a Jamaica, them take we out of Africa and gonna put we in a place that we're not supposed to be, make hurricane come beat we. You understand? Anyway, so me a little bit vexed this day. Me a vex me because and I feel with problem and then make it with problem. You get me? So how's that? Zangro. Hi, Zangro. Welcome to BlaXit. BlaXit is all about your repatriation, relocation back to your original nation, and that is Africa. Okay, Africa is the breadbasket of the world, and it is the place where you deserve to be. It is the place that I have repatriated to, as you can probably detect from my accent. I was born in the UKKK. I was born in England. I was born in a place called East London to Jamaican parents. My parents were both born in Jamaica. One was born in St. Elizabeth and one was born in the parish of St. Mary. So the devastating effects of what's happening in in Jamaica is of course of great importance to us. And of course it is of historical relevance because, you know, our forebears, I'm just putting the microphone in. I hope you can hear me. Just quick mic check on the microphone. I forgot to put the microphone in. So it might have been a bit echo. I do apologize for that. Hello, brother Ron, how are you? And Vigilante Visuals, moving back to Sierra Leone in a few months. Boom, boom, boom. BlaXit, boom, boom, boom. Yay! Well done. Well done. That's a big BlaXit. Boom, boom, boom. Back to motherland. Boom, boom. I love Sierra Leone. I've been to Sierra Leone. I love it there so much. So, you know, it's a good choice. I enjoyed myself there, both in Freetown and also, you know, out in the country. I also went to Bunce Island, which is actually where, if you've been following us, you would have seen that I met Professor David Olasuga. So hello to George Dewsbury, how are you? Liliani Resurrection, yeah, you're one of our A1 day ones, and of course, BlaXit veterans. So big yourself up, okay? I want you all to salute yourself today. Today, like I said, this show is dedicated to our brothers and sisters over there in the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, who suffered terribly, absolutely terribly. My mum sent me a video of the parish of St. Elizabeth, and it looks like it's been in a war. I mean, it is, the devastation is on a scale, an unparalleled scale I've never seen. It was a category 5 hurricane, okay, the most powerful hurricane in the world, and that absolutely has destroyed. There is a town hall meeting which I'm going to post on the community page. So if you want to be of assistance and you'd like to help, I will post that on the community page. So George Dewsbury, what's new? What's happening? And Liliani Resurrection, what's new? What's happening? Zangro, what's new? What's happening? Is that O'Neill Blackstock? Am I getting the name right? Yeah. Hi Empress Jules, long time to see you. How you doing? You're doing the good works. Me I try, me look at thing, you know, me I try. Look by look, you understand me, just I manage. So thank you so much. Yeah. O'Neill and Borat as well. Fakas, how are you? From Slovenia. Wow. Thank you for joining us from Slovenia. I have actually been to Albania. I have traveled to quite a few countries. One day I will tell you some of my stories when I went to Switzerland, when I went to Italy, different parts of Italy, when I went to Spain, when I went to Holland. I'm going to tell you some stories of racism that will make your toes curl. But anyway, hi Wonders, how are you? Which is why I'm in Africa, because we can't take them people again. We can't take them. Okay, Wonders, Makalo, how are you? Hi Nyancho, how's your day? My day is wonderful because I'm talking to you. You know, you've just brightened my day, so thank you so much, yeah? Who's that? And listen, welcome from Slovenia. Anybody, any of the BlaXit family watching from Slovenia, welcome, welcome, welcome to BlaXit. BlaXit is all about exit from the West back to the best, and that of course is Africa. Okay, and I'm broadcasting here from Africa, and welcome to Gambia, the beautiful, beautiful Gambia, which is on the smiling coast on the west coast of Africa. It's indeed one of the smallest countries in Africa, and of course that was because of colonization. As you know, before in the 1880s, 1820s, it was all Senegal. Okay, but now of course it is the Gambia because of the war between the French and the British. So, George, hello, how are you? Good afternoon, BlaXit. I have subscribed to your channel from Southport, England. Welcome from Southport, England. We have a new subscriber. Thank you for subscribing, George, and thank you for supporting the channel. So if you are a new subscriber, do let me know so I can welcome you to the BlaXit family. A big, big welcome to you from the BlaXit family. Thank you for joining, and I do hope you enjoy the journey, and you, like other BlaXit family members, will come to Africa, or at least invest in Africa, or do what we do. We are specialists in making sure that you repatriate. We help you to make that journey. We help you to get your acquired land, and also hopefully to build your home and make Africa your home. Okay, so we help you in that transition, whether it's to find a school for your children, whether it's to get your driving license, get your bank account, your TIN number, okay, your residency, you know, to settle in, help establish your business. We are here for you. Okay, and so that is what we do. Okay, so we'd like to help you. Hello Stitch, how are you? How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. And Wonders, how are you? What wonders do you have for me today? Wonders, tell me. And Mehmet, tell me, yeah? How much is an hour? I'm confused. I think he's talking about the service. No, it's not charged hourly. In fact, no, most of the things that we do is actually to support you. So most of what we do is actually free of charge. Okay, so just so you know, BlaXit's been doing most of this free of charge. We do have a management fee, which is a part of our land acquisition agreement. Okay, and that is part of your fee in terms of moving. So that's it. Okay, so there's no hidden hourly charge. Okay, so let's move on with today's program. I've been actually researching something this week. Where's my book gone? And I want to talk to you about it because I hope you saw the press conference that we put on the channel. If you have not seen it, please go to the main channel. I do apologize, and I'm going to sincerely apologize for not posting recently. We had a couple of issues in terms of losing content. And also, my wonderful mod, my lovely Kaf, had an accident. And so I had to focus on taking care of him, okay? So I just want to thank you for that. I've got an itchy nose. That must be news coming in. I've got itchy nose. Ricky Moody says, I give up. I was always thinking about moving there. Don't give up, my dear. Don't give up. Call us, text us, sorry, on the text line +220 240 5273 and make arrangements for us to have a conversation, okay? Don't give up. Do not give up. That's the last thing we want you to do, okay? So +220 240 5273. That is the text line, mod. If you could put it in, that's a WhatsApp text line. So if you're considering moving, do not give up. I don't want you to give up hope, okay? It's not as hard as you think it is. It's actually quite easy. I've been living here for over 6 years. I first came to Gambia in 2011, okay? And I absolutely wish I'd done it earlier, okay? That's my only regret. I absolutely love my life here. I've proven to you all how much more economical it is to live here, how much more peaceful it is to live here, and how much safer and how much happier you'll be, and how you'll have peace of mind. And I think you can't put a price on peace of mind, but also you're healthier. And you cannot put a price on your health. I think that's so important. Before I came here, I had so many ailments. I had so many issues, and I was on medication, and I am no longer. I am no longer. Can you believe that? It's amazing, okay? Sunshine, fresh food, good people, okay? Good environment. Yeah, it does wonders for your mental health. It does wonders for your physical health. Okay, it's almost, someone saw me that I haven't seen for absolutely ages, and she said to me, Julia, are you aging backwards? Honestly. Anyway, I keep having an itchy nose. That means that, you know, there's some form of information that's where we're coming in that I need to share with you. Kenny O'Hara, how are you? From Afghanistan. Oh my goodness, Afghanistan. Wow, free you, okay? As you know, I support all of our people which are oppressed in this world, okay, regardless of where you are, okay? Freedom for us. Fight the system that oppresses us. Okay, so Kenny, thank you from us. So we've had so many different places now, but thank you and welcome to the people of Afghanistan that are watching, our brothers and sisters in Afghanistan. Okay, I'm talking to you, you know, your brother and sister. If you are living there and you want to come back to Africa to live, I am talking to our African brothers and sisters of African origin, African descendants. You know, please, you know, get in contact with us and help to make that transition. I know that we suffer in so many other countries because of racism and discrimination, okay? And it is not of our making. It is not of our making, and people hate us just because of the color of our skin. Okay? Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for putting that the text line, right? But I want to talk a little bit about Jamaica. And to be honest with you, Jamaica has been suffering from not just Jamaica, but other Caribbean islands have been suffering. And the thing is that we were taken by force. We were taken by force. Now, I did share on the community page about the University College London's website, where you can put in your family name and trace the slave owners who had maybe purchased your ancestors. I did put that. If you didn't see it, please go and have a look, okay? Ayo, how are you, Ayo? Ayo, I think that's Marcus. How are you? Please tell us what happened to the brother. Is that Dowda? Hang on a minute. Issues more than food stamps. Can't get a job. Trump. Okay. Do tell us. Are you talking about Dowda from the press conference? Are you talking about Dowda from the press conference? Okay, I hope you watched the press conference. If not, please go onto the main channel and please do watch the press conference. Now, let me just do a little bit of housekeeping. BlaXit is a channel that is dedicated to our repatriation, relocation back to Africa. Okay, let me make that clear. BlaXit is about the exit from the black, from the west back to the best, and that is Africa. That is what BlaXit is about. And if you're black, if you're a man or a woman, you are an African. Okay, that is our concept and that is our belief here on this channel. And just to let you know, BlaXit is a high vibrational channel, high frequency channel. We operate on a high frequency love vibration. Okay, just to let you know, it's all about love and unity with each other for our nation. It's also about our repatriation, our reparations. It is about our mind emancipation. It is about us seeing that we have options and that we can make a choice and that we don't have to be controlled by the West. Okay? We can have our own water and drink our own water. We can have our own electricity, okay, from the sun. We can build our own house and we don't have to be chained to their mortgages, okay, anymore. We can make decisions to change our lives, okay? We can grow our own food. Okay, 1 second. I'm just going to get my water. 1 second, sorry. 1 sec. Okay, Lily, how are you? Jir, how are you? Mercy, how are you? Okay, thank you. Hi, BlaXit girl, great to great to see you. How's Africa? Has totally transformed you. Your skin is so clear and you look so healthy. When can I come visit, hun? Oh my goodness, just let me know when. Okay, just let me know when. Okay, Hidden Talent, how are you? And that's Mercy Lucien, yeah, and Jer Vergart and Lily O'Sullivan. How are you? Yeah, greetings and welcome to BlaXit. Thank you for joining the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So today I want to, because we're kind of focusing on Saim. How are you? Assalam. How are you? Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam. Right. And so I'll say Nangadef to everybody. How are you? Okay. So listen, I am not playing about when I'm talking about the wickedness and the danger that, hello African King, yeah, and the danger and the wickedness that has been put upon our people, and we are still suffering. So when we talk about the AU decade of reparations, we have to look at it in this context also, because the people of Jamaica are still suffering. They were brought there by no choice of their own. And I've got a book which I have been studying. You know, I do like to study, and it's called Sugar and Slavery, and it's about the connection of London. Okay, London, because reparations is due, reparations is owed. Okay, reparations is owed. I see that we've got a comedian in the comment section, okay? I'm not in America, and I don't have a leader here called Trump. Okay, I have no affiliation, and certainly no support. Okay, so I would like to say, oh, hello, Thrill, how are you? Yeah, Ron Sense, yeah. Free West Papua, Free West Papua, okay? Papua Medica, okay, Medica, Papua Medica, Medica, okay? So, and Tactical Loop, stress making. Okay, like I said, listen, I would like to say something to you, that we need to change our attitude. I can see some comments in the section. Let's keep it, like I said, positive, okay? Let's keep it positive, all right? Because we've suffered enough, I think. So I want to talk about some of the things and the people who have sacrificed in order to be here today, okay? I did touch on it last week, and I didn't really get to go into great depth, okay? Okay, I already, sorry Thor, you missed that, but I literally said that a few, it's lagging. Oh, I do apologize, okay? I do apologize for any lag. Yeah, that's the internet, unfortunately. That's not down to me, yeah? I wish I left London the same time as you. London is finished. Wow. Wow. Well, like I said, you can make a plan. We can help you with that strategy to leave. So if you would like to leave, we can help you with that strategy, okay? I really would. And today's show is obviously, you know, my heart goes out to Jamaica, to Cuba, to Haiti. And I would like to take a moment of silence very shortly in order, you know, to pay reverence and respect to those victims of Hurricane Melissa. Okay. Okay, thank you. So thank you for just subscribing. Thank you to all new subscribers. Thank you, Thrill, for just subscribing. I appreciate you so much. Okay. So I'm going to focus a little bit on in the Caribbean, because of course, like me, I'm first gen born in England. Okay, I'm first gen born in East London in England, and I'm wearing this as a tribute to my Jamaican aunt Norma Rochester, who unfortunately passed away from breast cancer. So I am wearing her scarf today as a tribute to her, and also because it was at her house that I was living when Hurricane Gilbert struck with my cousin Kay. Okay, so anyway, hello beautiful Juma, thank you Robert B. Lawrence, hello. So I've said most of my hellos. So I'm taking this from a book which was called Our National Heroes, okay, and it's a great book actually, and it was published by Jamel Publications, and it's the backdrop really, because we have suffered, okay, we have suffered as a people. And you're watching from Africa. Thank you. Which part of Africa? Do let me know. I'm in Gambia. Let me know where you are. Sorry for your loss. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. She did pass away a while ago, but thank you very much. Okay, so our national heroes are very important to us. These national heroes are from Jamaica. Jamaica got hit very badly, and like I said, when I saw Andrew Holness, who's also a second cousin to my family, so he's a relative, who's the president of Jamaica, going there, and I saw him go to St. Elizabeth Hospital. I saw him in the community, and I seen his, you know, deep concern with, you know, the devastation and trying to make amends. I also saw and published on the community page his attempts to also fix the damage. And I wouldn't usually mention, you know, about any family links or anything, but the reason why I think it's important is because I was born there, dear. Why do you think? Well, you want me for talking a Jamaican accent, and that's what you want. Many people will understand me, so I'm just talking in a British, and then I come from, but I used to live in Jamaica for a while, all right? Right. So, Yes, exactly. It's time for all blacks to get back home and unite. I agree with that. You're watching, so Alimo's also, Alimo Jemai is watching from Africa also. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. And Dirty Bob, thank you so much. I hope you've all subscribed. Let me know if you've subscribed and joined the BlaXit family. Let me give you a special thank you, okay? And thank you so much, Cyril, for the compliment. Please give me some hearts and some thumbs up. I would really, really appreciate it because it does help that all-important algorithm. Now, our national heroes, okay, Jamaican national heroes, I'm going to say, are very important in terms of not just us, but history. And a lot of the time, a lot of what has gone on and the fights that they've had are not known across the world. So people in Afghanistan, for example, people in different places all over the world aren't aware of, you know, the fights that we had to undertake in order to get our freedom, okay? I want to say thank you to Ahmad Kafre, who is feeling better, by the way. Thank you to all of your well wishes, okay? He's making a good recovery, so thank you so much. I subscribed years ago. This is from Mercy, when you first started after your TV appearance in London. Thank you so much. Thank you. So you have been, you're an absolute veteran. Mercy's a veteran, BlaXit veteran. Well, thank you, Mercy, for watching and supporting BlaXit. Quick Fix, hello. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Wanders, for Free Sudan. Okay, I agree. And Free West Papua also. Okay, and Free Congo also. Let's fight for our people. Wherever they are oppressed, we fight for them. Okay, let's do that. Okay, you're always a BlaXiter, one of the original. Yeah, when the original BlaXit family, BlaXiteer, you're a BlaXiteer. Okay, and BlaXiteers are going to change the world. Okay. Okay, the BlaXiteers are going to change the world. And today I want to really go into the connection between Africa, the Caribbean, okay, and in particularly London, England, and the royal family. I touched on it last week, right? Because I said to you, reparations has to start from the very top. And I didn't really go into it. And I started and I shared some information, I shared some information about how maybe we should go about getting those taxes that we paid to, at the time, Her Majesty's Treasury, in order to pay compensation to slave owners who enslaved our ancestors up until 2015. I also shared the article by Professor David Olusoga about it. And I shared the program, but I didn't realize that YouTube had blocked the program because I'd used a clip from the BBC. So I'm going to try and re-edit that and put that back out, okay? Okay? It's true, we did. We totally got divided by the West, okay? And the Berlin Conference has a lot to answer for, okay? So I think it's this fan. I think it's the fan that's making my nose in. It's on too high. Okay, that's probably what it is. I'm wondering, why am I feeling this? Okay, I've just adjusted the fan, so I won't be seeing my face anymore. Sorry. So these are people that are so important to history. So Nanny of the Maroons, I mentioned briefly last week. Sam Sharp, Paul Bogle, George William Gordon, Marcus Garvey, Sir Alexander Bustamante, and of course Norman Manley. These are people, and I'm talking about Jamaica specifically, okay? And these are 7 heroes, right, that represent the struggles of Jamaicans for freedom. Because Jamaicans have suffered, okay? And a lot of people aren't aware of the history, okay? They have suffered for justice and equality, okay? And we remember them for what they did, and we have to honor them and their achievements, okay? For what they have showed us great courage, absolutely, okay? And they led the way at different times in our history, and their lives should still inspire us today, okay? So Nanny of the Maroons was a bold leader, okay? And she was from Ghana. Yeah, I did mention that before. And I'm not going to go into detail like I did before, but I'm just going to go over it. She inspired loyalty and courage, okay, among her followers, and she led them into the fight against the English, okay? And she was against the English and the use of Africans as slaves, right, on their sugar plantations. That's why this book sugar and slavery is so important and why I want to share it with you, okay? Some elements of it, not all of it. I'll do it week by week because it's very important that we see the connection. You know, that's why I said I'm sugar free and I started not to eat sugar. The more I read into it, yeah, the less inclined I was to have anything to do with sugar, okay? Okay, so many of the maroons, and it's not good for you anyway. And the use of Africans as slaves on their sugar plantations. After years, and I'm talking many years, right? Almost 60 years of courageous and successful fighting by the Maroons, the English negotiated peace, and the Maroons agreed and signed a peace treaty in 1739, okay? And the Maroons won their freedom and certain lands, yeah, and the right to govern themselves. And they made themselves the first slaves in Jamaica to win, enslaved Africans, to win their freedom while slavery was still in force. You hear me? So they negotiated that while slaves are still in force. Okay, oh, you're from Sierra Leone. I've been there. I love it. I love it. I love Sierra Leone. Okay, I especially love the peninsula and river number 2, and of course parts of Freetown as well. Anyway, but for another, and this continued for about another 100 years, and the fight against slavery continued on the plantations, okay? And one slave, Sam Sharp, I want you to remember the name, Sam Sharp, okay, led the final battle in Jamaica in December 1831, okay? 1831 is a very important number. The number 31 is a very crucial number, and you'll see it reoccurring in history, and people born on the 31st as well, okay? December 31, he organized a general strike. He and his followers declared that they would work only if they were being paid for their labor. And instead of strike, violence broke out in Trelawney and St. James, in Westmoreland and Hanover and St. Elizabeth. St. Elizabeth is where my mother's family is from. The planters' militia and the English army put down the rebellion, and Sam Sharp was one of 550 who were put to their death. Do you hear me? This is how wicked the people are. They put them to their death. This is no joke. When I'm telling you, the wickedness of this people mustn't be forgotten, okay? When we're demanding reparations, these are actual accounts. So there can be no denial. There can be no denial about our reparations. There can be no denial. So not only are we getting battered by nature, we got battered by these people, okay? We were tortured in some of the worst forms of torture, from butt breaking. You know what I'm talking about. You know, you can't say certain things on YouTube now. From butt breaking to the most horrendous things like what they did to our sisters, if you can see, yeah? This is Suriname. This is a lady in Suriname. This is what, you know, they did to our forebears. Okay? This is what they did to our forebears. And I'd like you to please delete Joseph, because he said he's a fool and he said that he's ignorant. Yeah, I'm a mirror to you, Joseph. I'm a mirror to you. Okay? Whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. Okay, why do you sound so ignorant and why are you such a fool? Oh, you've been removed. Thank you. So Mercy and Liz said, yes, our ancestors really suffered. A Proud American said, okay, I think we have a few, what do they call them? I forgot what they call them. Spammers, yeah? So get rid of them, please, permanently. Okay, they don't belong on our channel. Okay, so I was saying that 550, can you imagine? 550 of them, right? They were put to death. They were hung and quartered. Some of them were hung like this, and some of them had their heads chopped off publicly, and their heads were then displayed in order to deter other people. This is the wickedness, okay? So those people that don't want the truth to come out about what you did, it's going to, okay? Because the next level and the next generation have to know, because reparations isn't going anywhere, and we need to make sure they're not complacent. They are not complacent, and they understand that we had to suffer for racism in the 70s, and our ancestors had to suffer throughout how many years? I think it's 573 years. Yes? And we shouldn't forget. Okay? Lucy said ignore the proof. I think so. I agree with you, Mercy. Marco Polo said Mandela. Okay. We should mourn them, okay? But the message to the slave owners and the English and the government was clear, was that the enslaved were determined to be free, and we sacrificed our lives for that. So let's give it up to these people that have done this. Slavery was eventually abolished in Jamaica, guess when? 1834, okay? And this was an important change in history, because some of the free people bought their land and started their own villages. Others remained on the plantations as waged laborers. And in fact, some of them and their families have worked, because when I went to Jamaica, I actually saw some of the plantations. I actually went to Port Royal and I saw the slavery dungeons. Oh, it was horrific. I cried. When you see on the wall, like up to my waist, you see the line where the feces, where they were in their own feces, where they had to live and where they died. It was the most abhorrent. It was the most, listen, horrific things. I have seen some terrible things. And like I said, when I went to Bunce Island in Sierra Leone, and if you're in Sierra Leone, please do go to Bunce Island and do see the way in which we were kept. You see the women's camp and the men's camp. I did put it on BlaXit, and I was incredibly emotional when I was filming. It was very hard for me to film because the connection to my ancestors for me is incredibly strong. Even reading this is tearing me up inside, and it's not with anger, but with rebellion for a revolution. Yeah? Rebellion for a revolution. Okay? So, like I said, some people started, but they complained about low wages, irregular work, high taxes, and unfair treatment in the courts. Okay? And they wanted justice for all. And Edward Eyre and the governor at the time showed no sympathy for them. And it was George William Gordon and Paul Bogle. So let's not forget Paul Bogle, who now led the fight for justice. And in 1865, so let's forward now to 1865. Remember, the abolition was in 1834. So in 1865, Paul Bogle, he led a protest and a march against injustice in St. Thomas. And the marchers clashed with local forces, the Morant Bay Rebellion, okay? This was called the Morant Bay Rebellion, and it was resulted in Bogle and Gordon. They were among 500 people. This was in 1865 that were executed. Shot, bam, alive, executed. Okay? Let that sink in. So, like I said, slavery was abolished in 1834. But these 500 people were executed in 1865. And these are the people that led the way for the lives that we live today, okay? Not that they're free, but they are different to what they were, okay? They are different to what they were. Okay, yes, I will. African ancestry DNA. What I'll do is I'll put the link and everything on the community page, okay? And I'm going to talk about this. I'm actually going to talk about African DNA because I spoke about it in the press conference as well. We spoke about it and how important it is, okay, for us to be able to trace our roots back to Africa. I'm not saying that, okay, my roots might have said that I'm 33.1% Nigerian. But however, I'm living in Gambia, but Gambia was also in a part of the composite DNA as well, part of many other nations. And so, some was not just in sub-Saharan Africa, some was also across in East Africa as well. Okay? So I was saying that it's very important that you should be able to, and I think part of our reparations, I mean, I had a vision which I wrote out. I don't have it with me, but I wrote out a vision that I was having of reparations and the African Slavery Reparations Bank, and how people were having accounts in this, African Reparations Bank, and how you were able to withdraw in an African nation your reparations compensation package in an African nation, okay, of your choice that was within your DNA composite. And even without it being in your DNA composite, because at the end of the day, it's very hard because of slavery to trace those individual nations, but you are through DNA able to trace where you're from and the ethnicity of your forebears. And I think that is so important, okay? So someone said, you sound like a British, yeah. Well, I was actually born in England. I'm, first gen, born in England. And so, that's the accent that I was given, unfortunately. So anyway, Lucian said, may the souls of all of our ancestors rest in peace. But we must unite as one to rebuild our future. That will give them the peace that they were never given. Oh, I totally agree. And coming back, making that journey back. Well, Sipwe was, very instrumental in talking about his Balenta background, and he went full circle and actually married the first lady of Balenta. So that is the ultimate BlaXit. Okay, so we are now beginning to come and we're remarrying and having families. So we are now fulfilling the BlaXit and that cycle and that circle, which I think is very, very important, very important. Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Mercy. So like I was saying, right, they wanted justice for all, and Edward Eyre and the governor, who was the governor at the time, was showing no sympathy. And like I said, Paul Bogle and 500 were executed. And this was in 1865, after the abolition of slavery. Okay, so when people think after the abolition, everything was, lovely and there was roses and everything else. No, it certainly wasn't. Okay, and indentured slavery was also, there was so much wickedness during that time that people don't want to talk about. And people that rebelled were punished, and punished by losing their lives. So, parents, can you imagine children left without parents who were just fighting for their rights, for them to have a better future? So let us not forget, okay? Let us not forget, okay? The next governor set out to make important changes on the island. So near the next century, Marcus Garvey, who we must never forget Marcus Garvey, very, very, very important and instrumental in history for all of us. Yeah, he led the movement to build racial pride. They did everything to make us have that destruction. They pit light against dark. They pit young against old. They pit everything against us, different facial features. They did everything to make us hate ourselves, hate the way we look. They tried to paint us as inferior, when in fact the opposite is true. The opposite is true. I was listening to a scientist. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name. And I used to watch him all the time. I don't know how. Oh, it came and then it just went again. It'll come back. I was watching a scientist who basically was challenged, a black scientist. And he was challenged and he said, okay, well, tell me who was the fastest, athletes. Now tell me who's the most intelligent race. Now tell me, and he had proof of absolutely everything, and the thing is, it was a black race. And it was undeniable. And he had proof. And it's, going around on social media. I'd like everyone to see it. If I find it, I'll try and see if I can, the rules are so difficult now on reposting information. But I will try and see if I can find a way. His name is right back in my... He does a lot of astrology. And Oh my goodness, his name's come out of my head. I don't know if you remember, Mod, because we watched it together. Okay, so anyway, near the end of the next century, Marcus Garvey led a movement to build racial pride, self-esteem and self-reliance among all people of African descent in the Americas, okay? Not just in the Americas, it wasn't just in the Americas, I'm going to hasten to add, because it was also in the UK, it was also in the Caribbean, you know, he went as far flung as Brazil and other places as well. Even people in Melanesia knew who Marcus Garvey was, and his newspaper was very well circulated by ships at that time, believe it or not, okay? Okay, Jazara, you're in the Gambia, can't wait to see you. So give me a call, yeah, give me a text line +240. Yeah, well, you don't need plus because you're here. 240-5273. Okay. Selma, hi. How are you? How's the family? Yeah, I hope you're all well. I hope you're feeling better. I hope you make a speedy recovery. So anyway, so he wanted to do that, and his organization was the United Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, which is still around today, by the way, okay? And it had branches in Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean, North America, Central America, Canada as well, Europe and Africa. And in Jamaica, he formed the People's Political Party, PPP, okay? So now you know who formed it. It was Marcus Garvey, yes, okay? And he called for a minimum wage law, minimum wage. So who did that come from? Marcus Garvey, okay? He's the one that called for a law for minimum wage. It was Marcus Garvey. And look how long ago that was, okay? And also land reform. He wanted us to take back our land. Our lands were forcibly taken. I'm also going to talk about that in a minute, because I'm going to talk about what happened in Barbados. I'm going to jump across to Barbados to show you how they did it and what they did, because it's a little bit complex, but I'm going to unwrap it and make it very simplified, okay? So he did that. So he did land reform because, of course, the British had taken all the prime land and dispossessed us of our land. Okay? Oh, you're traveling now. Okay. And Jean Rowe. Yeah? Okay. Welcome. Welcome, George Washington Carver. Okay. Thank you so much, right? I was talking about Marcus Garvey. So land reform, also public housing, in order to make sure that people had somewhere to live and make sure that, you know, the poor also was given the right to shelter and peaceful and quiet enjoyment of that shelter. And also a department to assist the poor in legal matters, because many of them were charged by, you know, in laws which shouldn't even have existed. In laws which should, and that's why I say, you know, when you talk about the law can be used against us just the same way the law was used against us to make slavery legal. Okay? The law was used against us. Okay? So, yeah, and then he set up also a university. And some of these things didn't happen in Garvey's lifetime, but they are now a part of Jamaican life. And Alexander Bustamante and Norman Manley, they led the country to its next important change, which of course led them into independence in 1962. Okay, 1962. And that was so important. So there's a lot of work that has been done. I'd like you to thank Jamal Publications for the information. I really, really appreciate it, okay? Because much of the world history has been written by us, okay? And formed by us. And I'm going to show you, right? I wrote some notes. I just want to show you some of the notes that I've been taking. I'm not sure if you can see green and red notes. But the reason why I took these notes is because I just think, you know, the information is so important. So, for example, if you can see, I wrote a note here, reparations. Okay, you can see I wrote a note here, reparations, and I've just, it's not the whole book, just little sections of it that I think is important about historical facts to share. Okay, and I'm talking pre-abolition here, okay, but I want to connect it to England and London, because We have to fight where the countries that most profited from it, particularly for us who were born in England and that have been paying taxes. Very important to the slave owner as part of compensation, and our forebears did also, because my grandma lived in England, my mum's still living in England, and of course, you know, this is the fact, is that, you know, those tax payments were paid to compensate those people that enslaved our ancestors. I guess the tables have turned around for the Moors. Paternity, happy. I worked at a restaurant, and when came into eat, I secretly put. You know what? I'm not really into this. I'm so sorry. Can you get rid of that, please, Kath? Yeah. There's some wicked people out there, and they're still there. Okay? So if you think for 1 second that you're living in peace and harmony, okay? You just read the comment that person said. It could have been poison. And to be honest with you, there is a story that I'd love to share with you one day about an enslaved mother whose children were taken from her and killed, and what she did. Okay? Anyway, so thank you so much, Maud. I appreciate that. And so they were talking about, during this note, right, it's about reparations, and I just want to share with you, there are some really nice diagrams that also show with you the kingdoms of Africa that they didn't want you to see, okay? The kingdoms of Africa that they didn't want you to see. They didn't want to show you our development, okay? What they did is they reversed it and tried to make themselves look as though they were civilized and did all this development, when in fact, when they went to African nations, and many of their historians, so it's a written fact, okay, which has been documented, found African nations to be very advanced, and they were in fact very surprised by this. And so what they did is they went to write the converse. So they did the absolute opposite. So instead of showing that, oh my goodness, these people are so developed, these, you know, these nations are peaceful, these nations are wonderful, they did the opposite. A few did tell the truth, but many told lies, okay? So this says, during the 19th century, British visitors to, you're going to have to forgive some of the writing, okay? Because this is how it's been written. So this is not my words, okay? Okay? I see your comment. Don't worry about it, Kath. Just keep on. Yeah, just keep on. Okay. Timbuktu, Beniro, thoroughly, exactly. Thank you so much. Exactly. And the universities there, the developments there. Gregory Glaser's assistant British paid $1 billion in repatriation in 2019 or something. You'll got in Jamaica for real. Okay, so share more about that, okay? Okay, so because that reparations, who was it given to and how? Do you understand? And who benefited from it? Okay? So, I was saying that anyway, in the 19th century, British visitors to the so-called Dark Continent, okay, really returned. This is, I'm taking it from this book, so I'm just quoting vis-a-vis, okay, vis-a-vis quote. Okay, British visitors to the Dark Continent really returned without some example of African art. Okay, while these were often regarded as curiosities. So this is just to show you their mindset. This is just to show you their mindset. They could also be highly valued. The outstanding example being the superb bronzes and carvings from the city of Benin, which were plundered by the British Royal Marines. What did I say? They were stolen. They were taken. They used the word plundered. That means them thief it. Okay? That means they stole it. Okay? Plundered by the British Royal Marines. This is the Royal Marines. Okay? During the sacking of the city in 1897. That's during the sacking of the city, and these are historical facts I'm reading to you. This isn't any, blah, blah, blah. This is the truth, and that's why I say reparations is due, okay? Okay, in 1897, nearly 1,000 items were seized as official reparations. Listen to this. Why did I mention the word reparations? They seized it as their own reparations. Do you hear me? Listen. These items were seized as official reparations to pay for the expedition. So they stole our stuff, okay, went to enslave us, and then the stuff that they sold, they used it in order to pay for the expedition, okay? And many more were seized. So can you imagine, if that was just 1,000, you can imagine how much it really was, okay? And unofficially, by officers who were there, it was seized unofficially by officers who were there, and it's only recently that some European museums and art galleries have begun to acknowledge the value and status of many of these items. It's there in black and white for you, okay, my brothers and sisters, my kings and queens. It's there in that section under reparations. All I'm doing is regurgitating what's absolutely true. They took our things, and it is logged, it is noted. So it is for us now to make a list of all of those galleries, right? All of those museums, and make our claim for reparations, okay? Very important, okay? At the beginning of the book is a log. So if you didn't think that, your ancestors were enslaved, this is a log, okay? This is the log. Let me show you. Names and numbers. So slave owners' names, hang on. Slave owners' names and numbers of the enslaved Africans that they owned, okay? And wanted compensation for, okay? There you go. This is out of one of the books from 1741. Okay, evidence. This is what we need to have, is evidence. And there is evidence. Okay, there is evidence. When you look at this picture, okay, this picture shows you the warehouses where they used to store the sugar, the cotton, and the tobacco. And that is in the Docklands in London. That is in the Docklands in London. So when we're talking about 10 years of reparations with the AU, the decade of reparations, which is from 2026 to 2036, this is the work that they have to do to make sure that this claim can be made, so you can be paid your compensation. Okay? So Gregory Glass, yeah, I want you to share about that, please. Okay, it's very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Okay, this is ivory from Africa that they used for tobacco. These come from Africa. They took these items. They took gold from Africa. They plundered it from Africa. They stole it. Okay, they didn't wait for permission. They stole it. It doesn't belong to them. Okay? It does not. Okay? It has been estimated. This is according to the book. I highlighted the section once again, just to show you proof. Okay? Yeah? It has been estimated that by the 1780s, so it has been estimated that by the 1780s, approximately 15,000 people of African origin were living in Britain, okay? Principally in London. And although it was acceptance, right, curiously, they were gradually replaced by a more hostile attitude that emerged in the 19th century, known as racism. Okay, so we were there before doing our business, minding our own, okay? And the key factor in this change was the attitude, was the transatlantic slave trade and exercise, which changed those relative status of Africans and Europeans from equal trading partners to exploited and exploiters. So when they want to tell you that black people wasn't there before, they're lying, okay? And there's even proof, okay? So then, of course, I mentioned pirating, or what they call privateering, last week. And I didn't expand on it because I said I wanted to actually get the section of the book because I didn't have the book with me last week. So I was just talking about it, okay? But here, it talks about what I was telling you, what they did and why it's important for you to get your land in Africa. And I can't stop telling you, I will help to facilitate it. Because the importance of land, okay, I don't know if you can see that. The importance of land, okay, is crucial, okay? You see that section there? Okay? It is crucial, absolutely crucial. I want you to own your land in Africa, and if you can own land in Gambia, so be it. Because land in Gambia is still affordable. You can still get a piece of land for $1,000 here in the Gambia. It's not going to be that way for much longer because, of course, through our fight for reparatory justice, part of that is the fact that we think that we should not be, doubly exploited. And so we use our claim and loss of legacy as part of the reason in order to keep the prices artificially low. Okay? Okay, Langdon Price. Okay, salute. Praying is going on all over the world. Okay, so I'm going to use this opportunity before I go into pirateering, because this is very important. Oh, sorry, privateering. Pirateering and privateering to me is much the same thing. It's just that one was done with the seal of the royal family and one was not. Okay, so let's just take, I haven't got my watch with me, a moment of silence to everybody that unfortunately have suffered a loss of life, or a loss of property, a loss of their businesses, a loss of their home during Melissa, okay? Hurricane Melissa in either Haiti or Cuba or Jamaica, okay? And especially prayers goes out to my family in St. Elizabeth, okay? And those in Kingston. So I'm just going to take a moment of silence. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for taking that moment of silence in respect of, the people that have suffered as a result of Hurricane Melissa, okay? Thank you so much. Like I said, I've lived through a hurricane. I was in Jamaica in 1988 during Hurricane Gilbert. I was living in Jamaica with my family, and, I know how frightening, I know how vicious, and I know how destructive hurricanes can be. So, and the aftermath, it's not just the hurricane itself, it's the aftermath. We had no electricity. We didn't have any water. The power lines were down. I'm telling you, I yam bully beef till me couldn't yam bully beef no more. Yeah? And green banana, trust me. Anyway, and drink cough medicine like is like his water. I drink cough medicine because I never have nothing else to drink. But anyway, and then me fall asleep because it did make me drowsy. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Okay, so thank you for that moment of silence, everybody. Yeah, and my love, and healing energy and loving energy energy for peace and restoration, and for rebuilding, and for uniting as a nation and coming together to support and help each other, goes out to Jamaica. And, you know, I hope you, Andrew Holness, that you can, you know, guide and lead the people through this tragedy, okay? And create situations and systems that can help them to make a speedy recovery, and for Jamaica to make, you know, redevelop itself after this destruction. Okay, so thank you. Okay, so I was talking about the pirateering, and so by the 17th century, because before this, England wasn't powerful, England was poor. Okay, let me remind you, England was poor. So if ever you hear them say racist, anything racist to you, tell them, like, listen, if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't be rich. Yeah, if it wasn't for us, your country wouldn't even be what it is. Shut your mouth. Okay, you tell them, shut your mouth. When they come to you with any of their racist rubbish, what do you tell them? Shut your mouth. Because if it wasn't for us, you'd still be in the catacombs. All right. So in the 19th century, Britain began to grow as a world power. Yeah. Militarily, especially the Navy strength, provided the ability to capture and hold more and more territory throughout the world. So that's what they did. You tell them, shut your mouth. You're professional thieves. Shut your mouth. You're professional thieves. When they come to you with their racism, you tell them, shut your mouth. You're professional thieves. That's how your country got to where it's got. And you're going to pay us reparations. Yeah? You're going to pay us reparations. Okay? Very true, O'Neill. I agree with you. That's why I left. I couldn't take it anymore. Okay? Thank you so much, Mercy. Do send some information regarding that, because it's important that we do know. Because some of us have put them on a pedestal which they don't belong. They do not belong. They were in abject poverty. They were in abject poverty and starvation. Okay? So it was only in the 17th century. So don't even anybody ever, let's not get it twisted. Okay? So anyway, so this is what they did. So they started the competition. So they started to steal territories. That's how you have British colonies. That's why you still have British colonies like the Montserrat. The Montserrat is still a British colony in the Caribbean till today. There are still British colonies till today. And these places were taken with inhabitants on them and were claimed by the crown. They're just thieves. Okay, they're just thieves. And this is what they said. They went around the world, right, to hold more and more. You can't hold territory. How are you going to hold a country? You're stealing a country. But it's their use of language, hold. Hold gives you the impression of something affectionate, gives you the impression of to have and to hold. No, it's not. You know, these books are misleading because they use words that try and soften what they do. No, they plundered, they stole, they're robbers, they're thieves. They're thieves. That's what they are. Okay, they're robbers. They stole. They stole territories. Okay? And they did that throughout the world. Okay? And in competition with each other for expansion. So European European powers, I'm not sure about that word. This is in the book anyway. But Britain's development as a colonial and ultimately imperial power began as a commercial exercise. Do you hear that? It began as a commercial exercise. So it is not something that you think, oh, it was innate in the country. No. What has England got? What, potatoes? Right? It began as a commercial exercise. In the 16th century, wealthy London merchants with spare capital funded privateering. Let's call it what it is. It's called pirateering. Okay, it's not privateering. It's just pirateering. But they call it privateering simply because it was given a royal seal. Okay, so they just put a royal seal around stealing. Okay, and then they play with words. They play with words. Okay. Yeah, we do need to educate ourselves because, you know, this is what self-reliance is about. Self-pride, self-love, is self-knowledge. What they did to get ahead, in so-called words of getting ahead, because they took our heads. Didn't I just tell you that 1,050 people in Jamaica were executed, summarily executed, for fighting them against slavery, fighting against their unfair rule, fighting against the conditions that we were in. We gave our lives. Okay, let alone how many and any of the Maroons. Okay, so anyway, so these so-called pirateering expeditions were to undermine and attack rival Spanish and Portuguese trade. Yeah, so they were attacking their so-called partners, right? This is how underhanded they are. They'll say, oh yeah, you're my friend, and then behind your back they'll stab you and then take what you have. But you're still my friend because they'll pretend that they're not doing it. Okay? This is how underhanded. This is how manipulative. This is how deceptive and deceitful they were and are. The reason why we haven't got reparations is because they are still deceptive. The reason why we haven't got reparations is because they're still stealing. All that's changed is the date. Okay? All that's changed is the date. Okay? That's very important for you to know that. They're still robbing and pillaging different countries under different guises, whether it's West Papua, whether it's Sudan, whether it's Congo. It's the same thing, just a different date. All they're doing is arming and giving power to the militias. Why do you think they're so up in arms with what's happening in Burkina Faso now? With, the president there, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Because he said, no, I'm keeping my gold. You're not going to plunder our country and make us be in debt anymore. Absolutely not. Okay? And so, like I was saying, so that's what they did. They did that for trade in the Caribbean. And as you know, many of us were taken from Africa to the Caribbean to be enslaved. Okay? And in the 17th century, similar aggression was directed against the Dutch and the French, yeah, for colonial interests in the Caribbean. At the heart of all this activity lay the acquisition of land. What did I say to you? Come to Africa and get your land. Contact BlaXit, please, I beg. Okay, this is your homeland. This is your homeland security. Come to Africa and get your homeland security. You do understand me. Get your food security. You know what they did? They fooled us, showing us pictures of famine and children starving, making us feel that there was no water, there was no this in Africa. I mean, Gambia itself lives on a bed of water. We get all our water from a borehole, naturally, from aqueducts under the ground. Okay? Food is abundant here. But anyway, and what did they do with that land? They went and they acquired the land. When I say acquisition, I do not mean legal purchased acquisition, as in i.e. they bought it from the locals. No, I'm talking about they went and they stole and possessed the land. Okay? So acquisition implies that there was a legal transaction. No, there wasn't. No, there wasn't. It was dispossession of land by the locals. Okay? It was dispossession. It was just them taking the land. Let me make that very clear. Okay? And so, which could be used to generate what? Huge profits. That's why I say come back to Africa Come back to Africa. Come back to Africa. Okay? What did they do? They used it to generate what? Huge profits. How did they generate these huge profits? Tell me now in the comment section. Yeah, we need a worldwide black power movement. We do, and there's even, you know, on the conference, you know, Eugene Telford was there of the new Black Panther Party. Okay, he was there of the New African Network. He was there. You know, these people exist and you can get in contact with them. Get in contact with me and I'll make the link. Not a problem, because we need to unite. Okay? I'm not saying that it has to be one big happy, you know, teddy bear party. And when I say that, I'm talking about on a childish basis, because that's sometimes the impression that people get. No, it is not. It is about us coming together in order to create progress. We don't all have to be happy, holding hands with a teddy bear, walking along, la-di-da-di-da. It doesn't have to be that. We don't even have to, you know, be on the same level, but we do have to have the same aims and goals. Okay? We do. Okay? So, yeah, Eugene Telford, thank you so much. Okay? Absolutely. Okay? So, I was saying that we used to generate huge profits. It used to generate huge profits for investors. Okay? And unusually through what? Cultivation of cash crops. So they've tricked us going into this, going into that, while they're making money from our land, because we all have to eat. We all have to eat. It's a fundamental need in life. Okay? Fundamental need in life. So they're distracting us with other things while they take our land. They're distracting us. We need this land because we need to make sure we have food security for the future, not this GMO crap. Okay? All right, so that's important. So what do? Cultivation of what they called cash crops. And what were these cash crops? They were tobacco. I don't smoke, so, you know. But, you know, tobacco can also be used to heal, because it's also a healing plant. People don't know about some of the benefits of tobacco, because they misused it and put it out as something just for smoking. But no, it's not. It can be used as well for other preventative measures in teas. And we can make our own medicines without having to depend on big pharma if we have our own land in order to cultivate our plants on, okay? Cotton and sugar, okay? So that's sugar cane, all right? And cotton. And cotton still grows here. There are big, massive cotton trees here, okay? Cotton still grows here in the Gambia. So in 1625, I don't know where I got that from. In 1625, a ship carrying settlers funded by Sir William Courtine, yeah? So remember these family names, okay? So Sir William Courtine, yeah, a wealthy London merchant, landed on the occupied, listen to this, he landed, I like the way they landed, like it's a spaceship, right? They landed, this is Sir William Courtine. He landed and occupied the island. That's like, so now it's occupied. You stole it, okay? Occupied the island of Barbados, okay? How many people here have been to beautiful Barbados? Okay, exactly, crops to profit, okay? All right, Selma says Africans need to unite, otherwise there will always be exploitation. Please remember Sudan and Congo, okay? Very important. Thank you, Selma, for that. Very, very important, because that's what they're doing. They divide, okay? They use the same method and create division in order to take hold of all of our lands, all of our resources, all of our natural resources. Yeah, divide and conquer. It's the same thing that's used over and over and over and over again. Okay? So, tell me, in 1625, who went to Barbados? I hope you're listening, because this is very important, okay? It was Sir William Courtine, okay? And within 3 years, Okay, just 3 years. He took over, look, 10,000 acres. I wrote notes, see? Maybe you can see. 10,000 acres. Okay, Barbados. You see? 10,000 acres. Can you imagine? Right? In 3 years, he took over 10,000 acres of the island. Right? And these acres were under his control. So you know how many people he killed to do that? Huh? Right? They were in control of a syndicate, right, of merchants consisting of this called Marmaduke Brandon. So I'm giving you names here. Marmaduke Brandon. So this isn't just, absolute folly. These are names. These are historically logged and, names that you can find. Marmaduke Brandon, William Perkins, and Alexander Bannister, right? Robert and Henry Wheatley. You want me to say the names again? Edmund Forrester, Robert Swinnerton. That's Robert Swinnerton, John Charles, and John Farrington, right? You hear those names? These are the names. These are the people that have benefited. These are the people that have to pay reparations. These are the families that still exist today. The families still exist today. I'll say the family names once again that owe reparations. So William Courtine, okay? The next name is Marmaduke Brandon. The next name is William Perkins, Alexander Bannister, Robert and Henry Wheatley, Edmund Forrester, Robert Swinnerton, John Charles, and John Farrington all owe you reparations. Their family all owe you reparations. Okay? Okay? Just giving you the names so you know. So you're from Barbados? These are the families. These are what we need to claim reparations for. Okay? I kid you not. Less name, less shame. Let's bring it out today. Okay? Less name, less shame. Let's bring it out. And there's more to come. I've got more here to share. Right? I've got more here to share because I know the hour was early, so I'm going overtime today. I don't mind. Okay? I don't mind. So Dorian Eugene Talbot said, Black people's bodies and resources have built extraordinary nations throughout the world while leaving Africa underdeveloped. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's very important. And O'Neill Blackstock, thank you so much. Okay? So thank you so much for your comments. I really appreciate it. And Dorian Eugene Telford, thank you so much, Dorian Eugene Telford. Yeah, you're saying exactly the right thing. And so, more people can support and follow, Eugene Telford. Okay, very important man to follow. Okay, so the most important cash crop in the Caribbean was sugarcane. This is why I tell you, do you remember? I'm not sure if you know, but about a year ago I declared I'm sugar free. The reason why is because I also was reading something else about sugar, not just what it does to your body, but the history of it. It was a history of sugar that made me go sugar free. I swear. Occasionally, if I get a craving for sweetness, I'll buy a natural honey from here because they sell wonderful natural honey here in the Gambia, But this is it. This is what turned me off. And, I think if there's one thing we should boycott, it should be, Tate and Lyle and all of these sugar companies, because we have to go back to look at, they say, oh, no, we didn't, our history wasn't attached to this. Our history wasn't attached to that. But the truth of the matter is, say whose is. So let's name names. Let's carry on. So these are the names for Barbados. There you are. There's the names. Get your reparations. Okay, get your reparations. Okay, so it was sugar cane. Okay, and sugar became part of the grass family that is thick and fibrous. And guess where it comes from? It was originated in New Guinea. Okay, Okay, that's where sugarcane comes from. Okay, but it was spread throughout the Middle East by Arab traders, and also it was supposed to have been introduced to South America by that lion teeth Columbus. Okay, so during the 17th and 18th centuries, Europeans' demand for sugar now rose dramatically. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to talk about supply and demand in a second, or demand and supply. Okay, and so which is a very important economical concept if you've studied economies, okay, or economics. Sorry. So anyway, during the 17th and 18th centuries, during the European demand for sugar, it rose dramatically. Why? Because of 550 coffee shops. I don't have to read this, but it is down here somewhere. But anyway, it was because of 500. I did read this before, you know, and so I'll show you. Okay, it was because of the 550 coffee shops. Now look, these are the people. Okay, let me show you. Can you see? On the, you know, who were cutting sugarcane by hand, you know, on overseas and enslavement. And the life of those enslaved that worked on these cotton plantations was just 10 years. Just 10 years. Okay, so can you imagine your life expectancy being just 10 years? Okay, I just... And we're still having to live through hurricanes where we were forced to live on these islands and could not leave. Because we could not make that cycle. We could not make that return back. We could not make, you know, our return journey back to Africa. We could not make it. Many of us got stuck. Okay? Many of us got stuck on the same plantation islands that we were forcibly taken to. Okay? So anyway, it was regarded as a luxury. So sugar now, okay, so we're going back into the 17th and 18th century. Sugar was regarded as a commodity, as a luxury, okay, for the wealthy. And so between the 1700 and 800, the drinking of bitter coffee became increasingly popular. Where's coffee come from? Okay, in fact, one of the best coffees is Ethiopian coffee. And of course, also Mauritian coffee is very nice, coffee from Mauritius, which are all, of course, are in Africa, okay? And the demand for sugar, they're not telling you about coffee though, are they? No. But anyway, the demand for the sugar and also for the sweetener increased, and new methods of mass cultivation resulted in imports to Britain expanding. So it expanded the imports to Britain, okay? And Britain expanded, guess how much by? 800%. The demand increased. It says it right here, 800%, okay? See it? All right? 800%. That's how much the increase was for production. That's the demand. Absolutely crazy. Okay. So that created, like I told you, we're going to talk about supply and demand, or demand and supply. So that expanded, okay, by 800%, and the merchants quickly realized that fantastic profits could be made. Profiteering, capitalism, okay? Profiteering, capitalism, greed, okay? Could be made from sugar production, because sugar cane was a quick growing plant. Let's say plot. Sorry, sugar cane was a quick growing plant, and given the right climatic conditions, it was a crop that could be harvested several times each season. Okay, now the juice of the cane then became extracted in crushing mills to be produced into sugar, rum, and molasses. Now, what is this sugary juice called? What do you know it as? You know it as sucralose, I'm sure. Okay. sugarcane juice is called sucralose. So when you look at the ingredients of your food and you see sucralose, now you know what it is, okay? But it created molasses, rum, and also sugar, okay? And they had to do some terrible things in order to extract the sugar. They had these boiling mills. And on the UCL website, I was reading one of the stories of a boiler. I think his name is Kwatim, and his story is there, and his life and how he lived and what happened to him. It brought tears to my eyes. Also, they talk about the sale of 20 babies which were still being breastfed, who were sold. Okay, 20 breastfeeding babies, and the logs are there, and the proof is there, okay, of our babies while they were being breastfed by their mothers being sold into slavery. And at one point, 60% of the babies were dying, okay, 60%. And there are logs for this, and the proof is on the college. I will post it again, so watch the community page for the UCL log. Okay, they did a great piece of work in finding all of the families, okay, that benefited from slavery. Now it's our job to make that claim, okay? You have CARICOM right now. They also have a petition out, which I will try and share. There are so many other organizations, okay? But the fact of the matter is, and now there's the decade of reparations, this is our time. This is why I'm saying to you, get prepared. It's time now to collect your evidence, time now to get your information, okay? And it's out there. It's not pie in the sky, it's out there. So put your, surnames into the database and see what comes up in the parish or the area that your parents were taken to, okay? So once harvested, the cane was crushed between heavy rollers to extract the, it's sucrose, not sucralose, I could put an extra L in there. But I think they call it sucralose now. But maybe then they called it sucrose. They call it sucrose solution then, so maybe they call it sucralose now, but then they called it sucrose, so S-U-C-R-O-S-E, sucrose. They call it sucrose then. But I'm sure we call it sucralose now. Solution. This was, maybe they watered it down, that's why they call it sucralose, I don't know. But anyway, this was subsequently boiled carefully at specific temperatures to extract the sugar crystal solution, which was poured into cones and allowed to cool and set. The crushing mills and boiling houses were dangerous places to work. Yeah, and there was constant injuries, were very, very common. And during the harvest period, both mill and boiling houses were kept in operation for long hours, and the men and women who worked in them were quickly fatigued. Sugar was usually imported into London. Sugar was imported into London, okay? I'm going to say it again. Sugar was imported into London, okay? This is how they benefited so dearly and made so much money and wealth from our enslavement and the byproducts of our enslavement, one of which was sugar, okay? So sugar, so if there's one thing that we should stop eating, okay, and now boycott, should be sugar. There are many sugar replacements. You can buy natural African honey, okay? You can use other sweeteners. You can use even stevia, okay? You can even make your own from using these, okay? You make your own sweetener using those, okay? So where was I? Okay, so sugar was usually imported into London, semi-refined in cones or as brown demerara sugar. Did you know that? I didn't, right? Brown demerara sugar in large casks known as hogsheads. They were in large casks known as hogsheads. And during the 18th century, a large number of sugar refiners or baking houses existed in London, especially in Wapping and Limehouse. Now, Wapping and Limehouse, I was born in East London, so I know where they are. And I just want to show you the image, okay? So, let me show you the image. This would be a boiling house, okay? This would be a boiling house. So you can see them working, okay? 24 hours nearly around the clock. Yeah, with an overseer there with a whip in his hand, okay? Look how they're working in these hot temperatures, okay? This is what they did. This is the truth of the matter. And these pictures are taken from many books and paintings of the time. So they're not just made up. These are prima facie evidence, okay? This is evidence. And it also says where the picture is from. But the writing's so small. I will try and see it. But it's a picture by a man called Richard Bergins, okay? Now I want to talk about the royal companies and their connection, okay? Now I put a figure up here which says 12 million. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if bring it a bit closer, maybe. Can you see that? Yeah, 12 million. Okay, you can see that. Okay, why did I write that? Now, it says 12 million men, women and children. This is according to this book, okay? This is the book, okay? Sugar and Slavery, London, okay? 12 million men, women and children. We're talking about our ancestors. I'm going to read it for you. However, it was the British who quickly used their business acumen. Oh, listen, they're praising themselves, okay? Oh, it's fine, hang on. It was the British who quickly used their business acumen and administrative abilities to turn the trade into large-scale and a highly profitable commercial activity. You hear how they're calling our lives. They're calling the lives of our ancestors. Yeah. However, it was the British, let me make it clear again, who quickly used their business acumen and administrative abilities to turn the slavery trade, let me make it clear, the slavery trade, into a large-scale and highly profitable commercial activity. Okay? That's what they did. Okay? It is impossible, I'm reading verbatim, okay? It is impossible to accurately state the number carried into slavery in the Americas by European slave traders. Current research indicates that not less than, listen to me, not less than, it says here, not less than, I'm not even kidding you, I'll show you, yeah? Not less than 12 million men, women, and children were the victims of this terrible trade. So when they want to talk to you about Holocaust, Jewish Holocaust and all those other things, I don't disclaim that they didn't suffer, okay? Because there was also black Jews there that they don't want to talk about who suffered during Holocaust. There were black Jews also who suffered and they don't want to talk about it. And then when people, want to talk about it, they want to then challenge them and silence them, especially MPs. Okay? So, British black MPs, okay? 12 million. It's there in black and white. It's there in black and white. 12 million. So when they're coming with their small numbers, they say, no. There's a book called Sugar and Slavery. And in Sugar and Slavery, you told them, it quotes at 12 million. So the reparations on our forebears for 12 million people. Okay? 12 million. And that says it was probably more than, but those are the ones that they could log. Okay? And the thing is that, and they said all this terrible trade. They talk about the profit of this terrible, terrible trade. Okay? And it says beginning on a small scale in the 16th century. Now listen to this. I want you to pay attention to this. It's very important. Okay? I want you to hear me on this. Okay? Because when I say we start at the top, we start at the top. And this is the reason why. Okay? Beginning, sorry for waving my pen around. It's a bad habit. I just realized. I'm really sorry. Okay. So beginning on a small scale in the 16th century, Elizabethan, listen to this, okay? And write it down. Elizabethan adventurers. Did you hear them? That's what they call themselves, adventurers. Elizabethan adventurers like John Hawkins, another name for you to log, okay, received financial backing from London merchants and Queen Elizabeth I. Okay? That's why I said we start at the top. We start at the top. Okay? Okay? Merchants and Queen Elizabeth I for operations which involved capturing, listen to my words, capturing enslaved Africans and selling them to the Spanish and Portuguese. They're in black and white. Okay? And the name, Elizabethan adventurers like John Hawkins, adventurer, you know, is a slave capturer, okay, of enslaved Africans. John Hawkins, and he got financially backed by London merchants and Queen Elizabeth I for the operations which involved capturing and enslaving Africans and then selling them to the Spanish and Portuguese. Okay? The success of these ventures encouraged the establishment of small syndicates, okay, like the Company of Adventurers of London, trading to Guinea and Benin, right, in the 1618, or the Company of Royal. So I said about the royals. Royal adventurers into Africa. This is royal, 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 okay? So don't, they owe us. The richest, one of the richest families in the world, the Royals, the Windsors, they owe us reparations, okay? They owe us. It's evidenced. I'm giving you the evidence, okay? In this decade coming up from 2026 to 2036, which is the AU decade of reparations, it's time to get paid. It's time for them to pay up, and we are going to make our claim. Those who don't want to, go sit down with your lame self. Those of us who want to fight, time for the revolution to begin. We need a revolution. Stop eating sugar. Worldwide, every black person, if every black person stopped eating sugar, okay, we stop participating in buying their brands. We stop banking in their banks. It's time for us to have impact, okay? Now let me carry on. The Royal Adventurers, into Africa, 1660, okay? Remember these dates. 1660, which then became the Royal, hear me, listen to me. It became the Royal African Company in let me show you. Hang on, I'll put my finger there so you can see. 1672. 1672. You see where my finger is? Okay, it became the Royal, you see it? Thank you. Evidence, yeah? I'm not just talking. I'm not just talking. I'm not just talking. The Windsors, they owe us, they need to pay up. They need to pay up. It's high time. The Windsors are going to pay. They're going to pay. Itchy nose. Don't know why I've got itchy nose today. All right? Maybe what I'm saying is so true. Ancestors are banging on my nose. Ancestors whose lives we're talking about, who gave their lives for us to be here today, are banging on my nose because I've got itchy nose and I don't know why my nose is itching me so. Okay? So what did I just say? The Royal African Company of 1672, okay? These were London-based syndicates, and their profits were in turn ploughed back into the commercial growth of the capital. What capital? Capital of London. So, basically, we should be the owners of London, that being said, because it was, London was created off of the blood, sweat and tears and lives of us, of our forebears. It's in our DNA, okay? So, like I said, so it was plundered, the commercial growth of the capital, which was crucial for their success and was complete. It was the complete monopoly. Listen to what it says. Let me read it again. These, sorry. 1 minute, my mouth's a little bit dry. 1 minute. These were London-based syndicates, and their profits were in turn ploughed back into the commercial growth of the capital. Crucial for their success was the complete monopoly they were granted by the Crown. What did I say? Crucial to their success was the complete monopoly they were granted by the Crown, the royal family, the Windsors. You hear that, right? This gave them exclusive control of the slave trade for most of the 17th century. I rest my case. See, now I'm throwing the pen. I rest my case. It's time for us to go after the Windsors. An apology is not enough. Okay? An apology is not enough. Doreen, Eugene Tower for Black people's bodies and resources. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry, I've missed some of your comments. Let me go. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I wanted to pin your message, but I don't know how to. Oh wow. Okay. So what is this stream about? We're talking about the hurricane that hit Jamaica and Cuba and also Haiti. And then we're talking about the fact of how we got there. Okay, so I'm making a connection between the cane plantations, tobacco, cotton, okay, the benefits of these that obviously created the capital of England, London, and established England in itself, because England was an impoverished nation before this time, if you look back in England's history. So it was built off of slavery, okay? So what I'm doing is just showing proof. And I'm showing, and we're also talking about in context with the press conference which BlaXit had this week, which is on the main channel, which I'd like you to go and watch if you haven't watched it. Please do go and watch it and give it some views. As you know, we are being shadow banned, okay? And I do know a lot of you do see the content, but it's not reflected in the views. And I have shown many discrepancies in views, okay? I've even screenshot where we had a certain amount of views, and then when I went back and I looked, the views had magically reduced. How views can reduce, I don't know. Subscriptions can, but views can't. So I know that there's a certain amount of dibble-dabble so far as BlaXit's concerned, and that's just how it is. But we will still be putting out our message anyway, regardless. We're here for the message. And, one of the things that I'm very proud of, and I must say, is that an A-lister from America, from Hollywood, who I was so surprised watched BlaXit. I was so shocked. He's one of my absolute heroes because, you know, he married a black woman, stayed married to that black woman, and he's a very, very famous actor. And, you know, he said to me, you know, he reached out, he saw something on another channel which was trying to defame BlaXit. And he actually reached out to me and said to me, don't stop. Keep on doing what you're doing because you don't know who's watching you. You're inspiring and helping a lot of us to make changes in the background, and a lot of things are happening in silence. So, you know, and then I remember another diplomat, one of the diplomats from Ghana, she got in contact with me and she used the slogan, the only way to eradicate racism is to leave it behind and go and live with your own kind, in a conference that they had, which was in China during COVID. So a lot of people actually, and of course, when I saw the president, His Honourable Adama Barrow, the president of the Gambia, and he told me that, you know, he's one of my #1 subscribers, and I was like totally shocked. And then I went to see the head of immigration to discuss about citizenship, and of course he also said the same thing. So, you know, I said, let's speed up the process then. Let's speed up the process, you know. So Dorian, the stream is about Black history, culture, struggles and liberation. Thank you so much. So eloquently put. Okay, yeah, we are going to talk about the institutions and so on. I'm getting to that. I'm actually getting to that. So you precast me on this one, okay? Eugene, boycotting the oppressors, banks, financial institutions, stores, brands, religious institutions, and governments. Absolutely. And I'm going to show the government's involvement also from this one little book. So let me carry on, because like I said, this is a long stream because of the change in the hour. So I'm going to go overtime. I'm going overtime because I want to impress on you the fight for liberation, for our revolution. It's time, right? Okay, for our reparations. And we have to take our reparations ourselves. Okay, if it's not going to be given, then we're going to have to take it. Okay, and we can, because, you know, I'm going to talk about the other institutions and the connection to them. It's evidenced here in this book. Now, I do have a spare copy of this book, okay, which I'll be happy to ship to any institution that, you know, that's fighting for our liberation. I do have a spare copy. I have one other copy of this book, okay. So, you know, ancestors are on me today. My nose is itching me. Ancestors. You know, my grandma used to say, when your nose is itching you, it's your ancestors, okay? So my ancestors, oh my goodness, on me today. My nose is itching me. Okay, so let me carry on. They're telling me, keep on, keep on. So, you know, so they were given a complete monopoly, okay? And they were granted this by the crown. So the crown is another way for the royal family. Just let me hasten to add so that you know. Okay, and they gave them this exclusive control of the slave trade for most of the 17th century. Okay, and it says, with such financial security, they constructed fortified warehouses. Okay, and I'm going to show you them. Hang on, it's on 2 pages actually. Hang on. Here they are. At the bottom of this page, I had to kind of fast forward, so I've just gone forward in the book. So you can see them. Fortified warehouses. You can see all the ships. Okay, you can see all the ships. It was indeed a multi-billion pound trade. Trillion in today's money. Okay. So they built up these fortified warehouses. Prisons. Did you hear me? It says here, prisons, warehouse, prisons. So if you're wondering about prisons and how it came about with the trade and working of prisoners, there you have it. Okay? There you have it. Okay? And so this is in the 17th century, my loves. Okay? So they had these warehouse prisons along the west coast of Africa, right, to house, here it is, here's the picture of those ones. So those are the warehouses in England, right, that house the sugar, which I showed you before. That's in the east end of Docklands. And this is Africa, okay? These are the warehouses that they built up in Africa. And these are all paintings. These aren't depictions, these aren't AI, these are actually paintings which were made, which show you what they were doing building up these fortresses in Africa. You see them? Okay, evidence. Okay, not talk, not myth, evidence. Okay, so they did it along the west coast of Africa to house and to speed up, listen to this, to speed up the delivery of enslaved Africans. So they built up warehouses and prisons to speed up the delivery. Can you imagine we're people? You know, this isn't, you know, some tomatoes with some, you know, you're going to add some fertilizer. These are people. These are our ancestors I'm talking about, right? So to speed up the delivery of enslaved Africans to the ships arriving from Britain. You hear? So don't let them pretend like, oh, it was in the... No, this is what they did. Okay? These forts were designed not just to contain uprisings by the enslaved, but also to resist attack from within by the local population or rival foreign powers. So they knew exactly what they were doing, and they built up these fortresses, these prison warehouses, to speed up this profitable trade of our ancestors. Okay? People, children, men, women, babies. Okay, I just lost signal, so I hope you're still there. Okay, by the end of the 17th century, however, merchants in the outports like Bristol, Liverpool and Glasgow were also clamouring for access to this highly lucrative trade. The granting of royal monopolies, right, was also regarded as an increasingly unacceptable. Why? Because everybody wanted a piece of the slavery pie. Okay? Everybody wanted a piece of the slavery pie. Eugene said the stream is, okay, sorry. Ash, thank you. Tava said African Union, African Diaspora, 6th Region Initiative, Reparations Movement, Get Connected, it's the way. So please put contact details there so people can join groups, join up organizations and get involved. Please put information there for me, please. Eugene, okay? Okay, hi Rose, yeah? Love from Somaliland, thank you so much for joining, yeah? And my love to Somalia. Okay, so the granting of the royal monopolies was regarded as increasingly unacceptable to modern trading practice. So they were saying, no, the royals can't just have it all. Okay, so they complained about it. And of course, with these complaints became written records of petitions to the royals, and that's how we have evidence, okay, to the royals, to this unacceptable practice. And by 1720, was that 20? Hang on. Yeah, 1720s, the chartered companies had fallen. The slave trade became open to any trader. Now, it was open market on our ancestors. Okay, open market on our ancestors, okay? And it was to any trader. And Bristol and Liverpool began to rise as slave trading ports. Although London's involvement in the trade declined for a while, and it began to revive from 1750 onwards until the time of abolition. Okay, now what I want to say is, right, where there's no supply, there's no demand, and where there's no demand, there's no supply. Okay, and England drove both the demand and the supply, okay? And the evidence is here, right? So London slave traders were carrying more enslaved Africans into captivity than Bristol, London was the fourth largest slave trading port in the world. Did you hear? Okay. Let me get the last bit of this sentence. Okay. Until the time of abolition of the slave trade, which was in 1807. But if you remember, when I told you about Jamaica, in Jamaica, it wasn't until 1834. Okay. Got itchy nose. Don't know why today. London slave traders were carrying more enslaved Africans into captivity than Bristol, right? London was the fourth largest slave trading port in the world, okay? After Liverpool and Rio and Baja, San Salvador, okay, in Brazil. You hear? Okay? The slave trade itself was a complex operation, okay? The victims of slavery were usually captured by Europeans, yeah, and I include obviously the British in that, because British were still a part of Europe, okay? Raiding parties, and they were sold by European raiding parties, okay? And then they were sold to slave factories, okay? To the slave factories or forts on the coast. From there, they were usually sold again and then carried on board the slave ships. So the first phase is that they're captured inland, okay? So they're captured inland. From being captured inland, okay, they're then captured once again, they're sold, okay? So imagine your ancestor will be captured, say for example here in Gambia, they'll be captured here in Combo North, okay? And then from Combo North, they would be taken to the coast, okay? So let's say there's a slave house which is in on the other side of Banjul, okay? What's it called? Baja, I think, right? And they were then sold to the slave factory there, or the fort, yeah, there. Or for example, Kunta Kinte Island, because Kunta Kinte Island was a fort, okay? Or Bunce Island in Suriname was a fort, right? Or the Ivory Coast in Ghana was a fort, okay? And then from there, they were then sold again. So 3 transactions, 1 person, yeah? Times that, okay? And then they were sold again and carried on board the ships. Can you imagine what our ancestors had to go through, okay? And then they ferried supplies to the ships, okay? So the trade involved purchasers as well as sellers, and it also benefited from middlemen, okay? And they were in the Caribbean. So you had the British that were in the Caribbean who helped to find and advise on the state of the market and demand for the Caribbean. There was actually a letter which was evidence. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but it was by a man called Thomas Mills in St. Kitts, and he wrote it to a slave trader, Michael Becker, in Bristol in 1753. Now, it's written in Old English, so I'm not sure if you're going to be able to understand it, but I will just pray see the letter, okay? Okay, so I'll pretend to be the slave owner, okay? Writing, okay? We observe your ship, Jason, Captain Breckenridge, is gone to the coast of Angola. We wish that he may arrive in time enough to reach Virginia before the cold weather sets in, as you stand a chance to sell his slaves better there than with us. Captain Jeffrey's cargo sold in this island lately very well, which was owing to their demand at St. Eustatius. We had not a cargo of slaves from any part of the coast for a long time before. That stopped, and the French traders were very eager to buy anything to send up for sale. That the cargo was soon bought up, but we have been informed that some of the slaves would not sell at the French islands, and that some of them were returned to St. Eustatius. A small cargo from Angola imported in the Snow Molly Captain Fowler is to be sold next Monday, but I don't think they will turn out so well as Jeffrey's cargo, as the demand is not too great. We have been told that they turned out around at more than £20 sterling, which is a great price for slaves from that country. Gold Coast Negroes have sold very high with us, and those from the Bight, the choice of the men from the latter, sold at 24 sterling. We shall at all times be proud to render you any service. That's evidence. Okay? That is evidence. The slave trade offered the opportunity of vast profits for many, and it tempted and corrupted, many were tempted and corrupted by it. On the west coast of Africa, the profits of slave trading fostered a new African elite. Okay, a new elite. I mean, this is like, I'm going to give you some figures, okay? I don't know what they would convert to now, so we'd have to find out, okay? But it says that the West Indies produced alone accounted for 25% of the value of goods imported into England. So we represented 25% of the GDP of England. 25%. 25% of the value of goods imported into England. We're not goods, by the way, I'm just reading, okay? Into England, and I'm talking about the byproducts of end slavery as well, okay? And Wales by the end of the 18th century. And the vast majority of this was handled in London in the last decade of the 18th century. These imports were valued at just under 10 million, and by far the greatest commodity imported was sugar. In London, so you hear that, so I don't know what 10 million would be now. Billions, okay? In sugar, oh gosh. In addition, in London, the demand was stimulated by the addition of sugar to tea and coffee consumed in growing number of fashionable London small coffee houses. There were 550 of these by 1740. Okay, so that's what we were plundered. Yeah, we were killed. We were captured in the worst genocide, ethnocide, in the most historical, most heinous crime against humanity the world has ever known, for someone to drink tea and coffee. That's why I say we need to boycott sugar, okay? I'm going to give you some more names, okay? So, to the profits of the sale of sugar can be added to the profits from the slave trade itself. It has been calculated that by the late 18th century, successful voyages returned a profit of just under 20%. The historian Joseph Incouri has suggested that between 1761 and 1807, a total profit of 13.8 million was made by British investors in the slave trade alone. Okay, that didn't include the other figure I just gave you. Okay, and he also said, there can be no question that London benefited enormously. I'm just reading, you know, I wrote this as well, 10 million, you can see it? Okay, 10 million, I wrote it for you to see, yeah? 10 million. There can be no question that London benefited enormously from both the slave trade and the profits of slave plantation produce. Most Londoners interconnected trading organisations and the activities they lay at the centre of British colonial commerce. So they lay at the centre, not in the middle, not on the edge, not the periphery, at the centre, it says, okay, of British colonial commerce, supplementing and benefiting from each other. The need for ships. So I'm just showing you some other aspects of the trade, okay? The spin-offs that people don't talk about. The shipping companies that created these ships, that made these ships, that built these ships, the insurance companies that insured these ships, okay? The need for new ships, the slave and West Indies traders benefited Londoners' expensive shipbuilding industry at Wapping and Limehouse. So Wapping and Limehouse, you can go there. If you're in England, go and visit, you'll see, and go to this museum if it's still there, okay? Wapping and Limehouse rope walks, right? Cooperatives and chandeliers supplied the ships with equipment, and the area's lodging houses and taverns served and supplied the crews. The ships were insured at Lloyd's. Remember this company, okay? Lloyd's, yeah? Insurance company called Lloyd's, okay? And the goods for trading on the west coast of Africa were purchased from local manufacturers. Or another company for you, London's East India Company. So it's called East India Company, yeah? The capital accumulated from the sale of enslaved Africans or plantation produce was used to set up finance companies and banks. So Eugene, you're dead on the money. There's the proof, okay? Right there, where I said East India, if you can see, where I've written East India at the top, there, okay? It says it there, where I've underlined it. Banks, you see? So they owe us reparations, okay? They owe us reparations. They were used to set up finance companies and banks, yeah? And it went into other trades, or it went into dock systems, or into private country estates or art. Some individuals became enormously wealthy. The Beckford family, let me repeat, another name for you that you have to call for reparations from is the Beckford family. Okay, the Beckford family with over 22 plantations. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The Beckford family with over 22 plantations in Jamaica. Okay, in Jamaica. Okay, were the richest of them. Was the richest of them all. So that's the family that we have to aim for. So let's all get our target on the Beckford family. Okay, they were the richest of them all. Okay, here's a name for you. Okay? Okay, Selma, sorry, I'm just going to read some of your comments. Uniting black people, interest worldwide, thank you. So Selma said Zanzibar was a port. Okay? Arabs were also involved in slavery and where some slaves were sold in the Arabian Gulf, now Qatar and Oman. Yeah, there are black people there. It's very true. It's very true. Very true. Thank you, Selma. Yeah, Zanzibar was a port. Arabs were involved in slavery, and some slaves were sold into the Arabian Gulf and now Qatar and Oman. Thank you so much for Selma for sharing that. it says United Arab Emirates is heavily involved in the war in Sudan, arming the militias that caused the atrocities in Sudan, as well as the recent massacre in Al-Afashir and in Darfur. I hope I'm saying it right. Thank you for that information. And this is what I am saying. This is what they're doing, divide and conquer. They're arming and resourcing, financing in order to keep us in war with each other so that they can take the resources. And, you know, because we have some people who are easily manipulated by money and greed and wealth, you know, they become black shots. You all know about black shots, remember, Taki? The black shots are the Jamaicans which they pay to join the army in order to capture enslaved Africans that tried to escape from the plantations. They were called black shots. And that's what we call traitors. And we have many black shots on social media that are firing shots after us, okay, that are trying to liberate the mind, trying to share the information, trying to get you back to your nation, trying to liberate your mind, trying to remind you that you are divine, trying to remind you that you have a rich history, trying to remind you of the wickedness that was done against us for profiteering. Okay? Selma said the Sudanese army forces have been no less vicious, hang on, sorry, it's going quickly, no less vicious than the RSF militia. Sudan war is very complex and there are many players. They are after gold and agricultural land. And what did I tell you? Come to Africa, please, and get your land. Okay? Okay, so let's get rid of Joseph, because let's talk about your people. We're talking about your people right now, right? Because let's talk about the ships. Tell me how many Africans own them ships. Oh, funny, isn't it? It's funny, when they're faced with facts, they don't want to do it. They want to always switch it back onto, oh yeah, listen, if you didn't start it, it wouldn't have existed in the first place. If you didn't go and burn down people's villages with their children in it and their babies in it and raped their wives in front of their faces, they never would have joined you. Okay, you did it by force. You did it at the barrel of a gun. You did it at your cowards. And then you want to turn around and say, oh, you got involved. You got involved because of what? How many people did you fool? People were trading long before that, and they were not trading people. So stop your lies. We know your lies now. Go take your white lies and keep them. We don't want them. Okay, keep your white lies. We have our own historians. And guess what? Even your own historians debunk you. So don't come on to BlaXit. You're not welcome here with your lies. Because I don't care if there was 0.0.1% of Africans involved. That is of no consequence. Based on the deception, based on the lies, based on the murder, torture, genocide, ethnocide that you caused because of profiteering. Okay? Because there wouldn't have been a trade if you didn't want to sit and drink tea and coffee with sugar in it and smoke cigars. So let's not get it twisted. No, I get like really passionate about the truth because they don't want to be held accountable. I cannot stand people that don't want to be held accountable for what their forebears did. They're still benefiting from it today. These families still exist today. Okay? And we're going to get our reparations. No, you're not going to get out of it by trying to switch it on us. It doesn't work like that. Because there's too much evidence, right? You hung us in trees, and now we're going to hang you with facts. Okay? We're going to hang you with true knowledge. Your own knowledge. Our own knowledge. We have our own historians. We have our own researchers. We have our own people, our own professors, our own researchers. Okay? We have our own people that are doing all of the research. Okay? We have our own people now that have left a legacy of information for us. So I don't need your information. Okay? And we will not be distracted, because I haven't finished with your family names. I haven't finished with the Beckford family. So let's go on to the Beckfords and how they benefited. Okay? So the Beckfords, they inherited, okay, so much money. Okay, and they were the richest of all. The William Beckford from 1709 to 1770 was a member of Parliament. What was he? What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Member of Parliament. Okay, lawmakers in the country. The people that are supposed to be responsible, okay, for their so-called constituencies. Okay, we're benefiting from being saved. That's why they didn't want to abolish it. That's why the same family, you'll see the same family lines and the same names in the House of Lords today. Go and check. Go and check. Don't believe me. Go and check. Okay? So you will see from 1709 to 1770, he was a member of Parliament and Lord Mayor of London in 1762. Lord Mayor of London. Okay? So whoever was just on here, right? Go put that in your pipe and smoke it. Okay? Was he African? Or was he an MP? Or was he in the House of Lords? Or was he the Lord Mayor of London? Okay? In 1762, and in 1769, okay? He was the Lord Mayor of London, okay? Take this name, William Beckford, okay? They don't like it because I'm naming and exposing, and I'll name and shame, because this is going to be the blame game, and I'm going to talk it until I finish this section. I am not getting off this live until I finish this section, and if you don't like it, me now giving the facts and information for my peoples to get their reparations, yeah, that's your problem, okay? You're going to give us reparations, and we're going to get reparations, okay? You're to blame for the transatlantic slave trade. You're to blame. The royal family's to blame. They're to blame. They are to be blamed. Okay? And in 1770, his son William Thomas Beckford. So now we're going on to the son. Okay? So his son, his son William Thomas Beckford inherited an estate worth 1 million. That's over 106 million today. Okay? And the Beckfords, that was his son. So that doesn't talk about the whole estate. That's just one person. Okay? And I think that's probably worth a lot more, because this is not the date that the book was published. So it's worth a lot more today. Okay? The Beckfords enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, and William Thomas Beckford eventually expanded his estate fortune by building the incredible Gothic folly in Fonthill Abbey in Wiltshire. Fonthill was one of the most eccentric monuments, and it was built on profits. I'll just show you it. Okay? This is it, what he built. That's all the money. That's money from our enslaved labor and our enslaved lives being captured, taken from Africa and used like batteries. Okay? And this was them enjoying, you know, life in there. You see the enslaved black person there in the corner? I'm not sure if you can see him. Let me see if I can show him. He's right there in the corner here. I put him right there in the corner. You see him? There. You see them? That was your enslaved African. Okay, look at the little boy there. Little boy. Little boy. Okay, I haven't got much more left. So I'm just going to quickly tell you about the slave ships. Okay. So when you're telling me about African involvement, I'd like to know how many of the 2,870 slave ships, yeah, that's 2,870 slave ships were built by Africans. Because I'm sure there wasn't one. So when they want to come with their folly, okay, ask them these facts. When they want to come with their folly, ask them how many slave ships were built by Africans. You're talking about Africans doing this, Africans doing that. Well, tell me how many. Okay, not one, no, none. Okay, I rest my case. Yeah, I rest my case. 2,870 slave ships were built between 1633 and 1807. What can I say? Yeah, look. Yeah, there's the evidence. These are the paintings. You know, they're very proud of what they were doing. They made lots of paintings showing them. Okay, and these paintings are in galleries. Okay, very proud of what they did. And we should be very proud to now fight for reparations. Okay. So, just I'm going to sort of, wind up, obviously, because I've been on here for quite a while. But I am going to say that, the Beckford's name is also still given to one of the Beckford's plantations in Jamaica. Okay, so if you're in Jamaica, you don't believe me, go and see it. Okay? So Beckford's plantation in Jamaica, go and see, okay? And then it says, for decades, this is the last section now, so I will be winding up, okay? Thank you for joining me, thank you for staying with me. This has been really interesting. For decades, the extent of London's role in the slave trade has been overlooked, to say the least. To say the least, because you know what? They tried a trick. They tried a trick on us. They tried a reversal trick. And I hated what they've done. And I use that word with a passion because I don't like using that word. I confess it's a low vibrational word. But I'm going to use it because I hated with a passion the fact that they tried to switch the responsibility onto us in one of their deceptive games of sleight of hand, gaslighting, deception, manipulation, and that's all they do. So that's how it got overlooked. It got overlooked because they hid it intentionally so that you would not know the wealth that you are entitled to, your reparations. So this is the final section, okay? And I'm just going to end with this because this is so important. And this is also about the royals once again. I'm going to bring them in once again because you have to know that it started at the top. Okay? Now, the decades of and the extent of London's role in the slave trade has been overlooked. Research over the past few years has now identified approximately 2,870 slave ships which left London between 1633. Let me repeat. That left London between 1633 and 1807, with some 83% of these leaving the port after 1700, right? After the year 1700. Many of these ships sailed under the flag of London's Royal African Company. What did I say? London's Royal, gonna say it again, because I told you these royals, they got to pay up. These Windsors got to pay up. Yeah, it sailed under, right, the royal flag, the flag of London's Royal African Company. Following the decline of the early joint stock, companies, individual merchants and associations took over the trade, and in the middle of the 18th century, slave trading activity coalesced and was then dominated by loose associations around merchants like Augustus. I'll say it again, right? Augustus. And Augustus is actually the name of my great-great-grandfather, Augustus Morrison. His name is Augustus, okay? And, you know, we wonder where we get these names from, okay? And how did my grandfather get that name? You understand? When you look in the save books, you'll see, okay? And Sir John Boyd, okay? Remember that surname Boyd? Yes, sellout. Okay, Sir John Boyd and Richard Oswald. Yeah, Richard Oswald. Remember these names, okay? Each of these drew in associate investors and individual voids. Many of these men had traveled to the West Indies when younger, intent on making their way in the world. Having made their fortune, they returned to London to continue and broaden their social elevation to what? Political office. So these people that were deeply involved in the slave trade, okay, and enslaving and killing our ancestors, moved into political office, okay, directorship of banks, okay, directorship of banks. It says it, I'm not making it up, I'm reading it, and other organizations, and to expansive country retreats. So a lot of these, you know, country mansions and stuff like that, you've got to wonder about. I went to a pool party once, and when I got there, I was invited. When I got there, I realized it was the Cadbury's mansion. I'll talk about that another time, actually. But anyway, London's most active slave trading partnership was formed by William Camden. Okay, another name, okay? London's most active slave trading partnership was formed by William Camden, Anthony Calvert, and Thomas King. Camden and Calvert were individually operating in the trade from 1760. By 1780, they had joined by the slave ship captain Thomas King, and from 1780 onwards, they were sent at least 95 ships across the Middle Passage. Can you imagine how long that takes? And they sent 95. That's full of our people. Yeah? Across the Middle Passage. The names given to the dreadful trip, they call it the Middle Passage. That's the name they gave to the dreadful trip across the Atlantic, carrying more than 27,000 African men, women, and children into enslavement in the triangle between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Hugely successful Camden, this is what they called them, hugely successful Camden, Calvert, and King built up a powerful network of associates and gave them direct links to important organizations like the Bank of England. Bank of England owe us, okay? Let me say it, you heard me, okay? Who did they have links to? Okay, I gave you the names, I'm not playing, okay? I'm not playing. Calvert and Calvert King, yeah, they built up a powerful network, Camden, Calvert, and King. So it was Thomas King, okay? Anthony Calvert and William Camden. These are the families we go after, okay? And they had links to important organizations like the Bank of England. These are the organizations that we go after. Trinity House, Lloyd's, the Admiralty, and the government itself. It says it right here, I starred it so you can see. The government, you hear? See here? The government itself. I put an asterisk there for you to see. The government itself. We coming for you. Okay? It's time for our revolution. Time for us to get our reparations. I'm not playing. Okay? Their financial success enabled them to diversify their investment into a wide range of commercial activities. The Baltic and East India trades, convict transportation, that's transportation of convicts, okay, prisoners, okay? Also, victualizing for the Navy, or victualling. Sorry, I can't see the word properly. Victualling for the Navy, banking. Okay. So, and I think victualling means recruiting. Okay. Banking, shipbuilding. I'm not sure, so I'll look it up. Okay. Banking, shipbuilding, whaling, and so on. They were also major investors in the new West India docks. And the new West India docks, they still exist today. Today. I made a song which was called Reparations Now some years ago, and you can actually see the docks in that song. Okay, I wrote a song. So it's just abhorrent, okay? There's so much more, okay? There's so much more. But I will say, okay, that by the late 18th century, many of the sugar merchants and plantation owners in London belonged to powerful pressure group. The powerful pressure group that they belonged to was called the Committee of West India Merchants and Planters. Okay, listen to this. Okay, I'm going to end on this. Okay, they belong to a powerful pressure group. You know, they had money, so they could pressure things. They could make laws, break laws, because as you know, they're also members of Parliament. So the Committee of West India Merchants and Planters, representing enormous wealth, they controlled a large number of members of Parliament. What did I just say? And also wielded great political influence. By the mid-1790s, the committee was deeply concerned about the inefficiencies of the Port of London and the lack of security for their imported goods. I swear down, you can't make this up, right? Their solution was the building of secure docks and warehouse, isolated from the river and surrounded land by high fortress-like walls. At first, a site in Wapping was favoured and the location for these new docks, but following what had been a power struggle within the organisation, the majority formed the new West India Dock Company and settled on the site of the Isle of Dogs in 1799. Okay, and the Isle of Dogs still exists today. Okay, I even used to work there, believe it or not. Okay, I used to work in the Isle of Dogs for a while. I cannot believe this. The government passed the necessary legislation and for the company to proceed, okay, to raise the final total of 1.2 million for the building of the huge new dock complex. The money came in the form of private subscriptions, largely from members of the West India Committee, some of whom subscribed as much as £5,000 to work on the docks, for work from the docks to commence in February 1800. Remembering that it was abolished in 1807, right? Apparently, okay? And so, and the first dock was completed in 1802. So the most eye-catching features were the enormous warehouses built to store 80,000 hogsheads of sugar. Can you imagine? That's all the sugar that they got from our ancestors to build hogsheads of sugar and tobacco, 20,000 puncheons of small caskets of rum. So that's 20,000 puncheons of small caskets of rum. The Museum of London and Docklands is housed in one of those buildings. So do go there and have a look, okay? Sugar merchants, okay? Storing so much sugar enabled sugar merchants to control the supply of goods and the market and to ensure high prices and huge profits, okay? The advantage was helped by the 21-year monopoly granted to it of all West India products shipped into London. From the outset, the West India Dock Company was dominated by London's richest slave owners and London and sugar merchants. Its first chairman was a slave owner, George Hibbert. Okay? Another name we go after. George Hibbert. Okay? George Hibbert who led the campaign against the abolition of the slave trade, right? But he was a slave owner, okay? Other slave owners sat on the company's court of directors, opening just 5 years before the abolition of the slave trade, and the docks were used at last, the last 22 known slave trading vessels carrying sugar and rum back to Britain after they were disposed of their human cargo in the Caribbean. So they disposed of the human cargo. When they said, yes, we're going to abolish slavery, what did they do? They threw us into the sea. They threw your ancestors into the sea. Like rubbish. It says it disposed of its human cargo in the Caribbean Sea. And I rest my case. Okay? Let alone we talk about the treatment that was done on these plantations. We're only touching on this. Okay? So we shouldn't even be in Jamaica to face no hurricanes, hurricane after hurricane after hurricane. We weren't even supposed to really inhabit that island, but we were brought there, enslaved and shackled. Some with metal muzzles, some with, metal collars, and shackled their hands and their feet, whipped, starved, raped, tortured. For what? Their sugar wealth. So never let it be forgotten that we shouldn't even have been there. And like I said, I was there during Hurricane Gilbert, and I know how terrible, it is, okay, to live through a hurricane, okay. I even remember a hurricane once in England when I got back, and the wall fell over. It was high winds in England. But, the thing is that England needs to be held accountable, okay? There's evidence, okay? Evidence. I've just given you how much evidence. So it's time to start this revolution for our reparations, okay? These are names, this is evidence, these are companies, these are institutions, and these is a royal family who is accountable and responsible for what the Durban, the conference in Durban on slavery, anti-racism conference in slavery, called the most inhumane episode in human history. Okay? Unhumane. Okay, so let's not forget that we shouldn't even be on these islands. Haiti, same thing. Cuba, same thing. And we did not get our freedom with a cup of tea. We lost lives, thousands and thousands of lives, fighting to get our freedom. We didn't just sit down, okay? We resisted. There was a huge resistance. They didn't just come into Africa and get us. They came in with muskets. They came in with fire. They came in with armies. We wasn't prepared. So Africans, never blame yourself. What country did African go into in Europe? No, when we went in, we civilized the Europeans. The Moors, that's what they did. The Moors brought medicine. The Moors brought, sanitization, mathematics. I'll share some of even them on the community page. I must make more effort to share. I have a lot of information to share. But for now, I will say to you, thank you. Right? I live in Africa. I love living in Africa. Okay? England is a dump. I'll say over and over again, England is a dump. And that's for you, Joseph. Okay? England is a dump. Please, can you delete this tramp off of the thing, please? Yeah? Mod. Can you delete Joseph, please, off of the channel? Bye, Felicia. No, delete him again. He's there again. He's come back again, yeah. Okay, I'm going to go through some of your comments that I've missed. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me... Yeah, just delete his comment, please. Well, one's left. I just saw it. I'm going to go back and go through all of the comments now because I really want to see your contributions. Okay. Okay, someone said get rid of Stephen too. Okay. What's all these great white Charlie and all of these racists doing here? They can't handle the truth. You can't handle your history, can you? How evil, how wicked. And the fact that your country is built off of death and debauchery. Theft, common theft. Okay, so Jazara in the Gambia, they can't handle the truth. If truer words couldn't be said. Okay, thank you, Maud. Yeah, they can and they will, said Maud. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Oh, Jazeera said they're hired agents. Yeah, as you know, BlaXit has had so many attacks and will continue, I guess, because as long as we spout the truth, you know, we will have opposition to it. Okay? But this is their words, okay? This is not my words, this is their truth. These are their weapons. Okay? This is their weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so I'm going to go into your comments now and then we'll close. Thank you, Maud. I can see you're doing a great job. Okay. So Dorian Nugent Telford said reparations movement is holding governments and corporations and oppressors accountable for reparations now, yeah? Al Jazeera said yes. Okay. They may have forgotten, but we haven't. And Cop Valley said it's in the trillions. I totally agree. In fact, in my program, it was stated that it was 777 trillion that was owed to us. That is the figure. Okay, that was the latest figure that I was given, $777 trillion. That is what is owed in terms of finance. That does not include landed property. It does not include the return of artifacts, etc., etc. That is just the financial compensation because many of us had to buy back our freedom. Okay, many of our ancestors, when I say us, I am talking on behalf of my ancestors. Okay, so when I say us, it's because my ancestral blood lives in me and I do not deny it. Yeah, they are in my DNA and I do not deny it. Okay, so Jules Ara in the Gambia said, we can't forget because it's still going on right now. Completely agree. Jasara said, just as, yeah, it's just as modern as it is in those times, yeah. So Cop Valley said, yeah, to full knowledge. Okay. Boycotting is another great thing. So I said, okay, let's boycott sugar. I've now showed you sugar and slavery. Let's boycott sugar. Okay? Boycott sugar. All right? Boycott sugar. Buy African honey. Okay? Boycott sugar. Dorian said boycotting works. Boycotting is non-violent revolution. Okay, so let's all agree to boycott sugar. How's that? Spread the word. Let's start a boycott campaign to boycott sugar. Let's just do this. Because we can see, And I mean, we try and stop buying products even with sugar. Yeah, maybe it's a high time for us to try and go natural. We squeeze our apples, and I mean, I know in Africa it's far easier. I can go out to the tree and just pick it because I've got, limes on the tree and so on. I can just take some limes off and add some honey and make some juice. And I know it's not that easy in Europe because everything's in sucrose is in so many different and sucralose and all of these different type of things in your products. But let's start with that boycott. Let's just boycott sugar. Okay? Okay, the world ain't what they said as kids do. Okay, this is the world. The world ain't what they said as kids. Okay, he said, do the Igbo and Yoruba people owe you also because, to be fair, right, I think that's a whole nother program. And I think also that that is very complex. I'm going to explain to you why. There's one story which I learned from a man called Maladoma Patrice Sume, who's late now. He passed away, and he told me about the story in Upper Volta and how they came to his village, and they came as like Christians, these kinds of missionaries, and said that they wanted land in their village to build a church, to help to reform them, to learn about who Jesus was, yeah? And obviously they had their own spiritual beliefs, and they're Catholics and so on, and they didn't want to. They had their own spiritual beliefs and so on. So they went to their spiritual council, and their spiritual council said, well, we don't know about any Jesus who died on any cross for us. We don't know about him. I'm sorry. So our ancestors have rejected your request for a church. So anyway, so they went away, and they came back with the army, and they burnt and killed, and they pillaged and stole and destroyed and raped and shot and stabbed and burnt and killed many of the people in that village in order to go and put their church there. Then they enslaved and took these young people who they then trained, unless they threatened to kill them or not give them food, who they kept chained to go and help capture other people from other villages. So it's not as straightforward as what you think. It was done in duress. Okay, it was done by duress. Okay, and people didn't know what was going to happen. And when people were selling people that were enslaved or people that were in prison for crime, it was on a completely different basis. So I don't want us to get confused. How can you make comparison? The 77 trillion owed to us. How can you make comparison to a few people in Nigeria compared to a whole organization, right? From the royal family all the way down to, 2,000. Sorry, excuse me, dry throat. 2,870 ships. That's why I said, let's start, right, with those that are responsible first. Okay? Because that is the first point of call. Because if there was no demand, there would be no supply. And I'll say it again. If there was no demand, there would be no supply. So don't come with that. Okay? And I happen to add, I have a lot of information on this. Okay? And what they put African families through. And what they put African villages through. And even here in Gambia, the stories that you hear, it's just heinous. Because some families still remember. And no one actively did it, they were captured. Okay? I don't know about everywhere. And I've got to say, a lot of people were hoodwinked. They were gaslit. Okay? People didn't even know what was going to happen on those ships. They didn't know. They didn't even speak the same language. They didn't even speak the same language. Now make that make sense. Because your math ain't mathing, okay? Your math is not mathing. So we have to put sense to nonsense. Yeah? Stop believing the white rhetoric lies. Yeah? Stop believing the white rhetoric lies. What I'm giving you is facts. 2,870 slave ships between 1633 and 1807. Tell me how that math is mathing. Tell me how many of them were owned by Nigerians. None. None, 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 none. They were owned by wealthy, white enslavers, okay, and plantation owners, okay? Okay? What they call merchants or adventurers, right? Or privateers, okay? And royal families, okay? I'm just going to tell you the truth of you like it, you don't like it. Because you white people ain't going to put blame at our door, okay? You are not. You are not. You are responsible, you are to blame, and you're going to pay reparations. And 3 hours ain't catching me on here. So I want to thank you. If I missed your comments, I'm very sorry, okay? Dorian Eugene Talford said each nation where black people must seek and demand reparations from your government, holding former slave masters and colonizers accountable. Okay? That's what we're going to do. Okay? That's what we're going to do. David McKinley, my love, my friends, my joy. Okay, David and I have got history. David and I have been friends since I was it 13? 12, 13? Okay, in England. And we used to have these debates about reparations and slavery and us black people and racism on the back of a bus, okay? And it used to become a huge debate. Do you remember, David? Where everybody would get involved that was black and the white people would be getting vexed on the bus. Sorry, David's in the comments. So I want to give a special big up to David. You know, David was a good friend. David even lived with us and supported us, you know, and we teamed together, worked together, you know, as a community, helped with Working Action Group, you know, helped with Caffrey. You know, sometimes when I was at meetings and I couldn't make it back, he would be the one to pick up Caffrey for me and so on and so forth, you know. David has been a great friend to me, you know. So David, I miss you, bro. When you come in, yeah, get out of there, man, and come, okay? Nice to see you, brother. Nice to see you. Give me a call after this, okay? Give me a call. Yeah, David, wow, it's so good to see you here. Thank you. And also, hi to you, C. Hi to you, Carla. I hope you're here. So, let me tell you something, right? Let me tell you something. I am going to put slavery where slavery belongs. Okay? I'm going to blame those people, right, who filled those ships. I'm going to blame those people who sold us into slavery, okay? And those are the people that own the ships, okay? Those are the people that own the plantations in the Caribbean and in the Americas, okay? And in Brazil, okay? And in various other places too, okay? I'm going to blame the organization. I'm going to blame the royal family, okay? I'm going to blame, and I am blaming, the royal family, okay? I am blaming them. I'm blaming all the names that are named, okay? I'm blaming all of the names, okay? That's right. I'm blaming William Camden. Don't sound like no African name to me. I'm blaming Anthony Calvert, okay? I'm blaming Thomas King. I'm blaming the royal family, right? I'm blaming the East India Company, okay? I'm blaming all of them, the Beckford family, I'm blaming them, okay? I'm blaming Lloyd's, okay, who insured the ships, okay? I'm blaming the shipbuilders, okay, at Wapping, okay? I am blaming them. I am blaming all of them, okay? The Royal African Company, okay? I am blaming them. So don't tell me who to blame. I am blaming them, right? I am blaming Sir William Courtine, right, of Barbados. I am blaming them. I am naming, shaming, and blaming them because our reparations time is done. And I'm telling you, you racist white people that don't want to take accountability for what your forebears done, because remember, we were still paying compensation to all of those slave owners, remember, who claimed compensation, and the names are right there on the UCL, that's the University College website. I'll put the link again so you can go and see those names exist, okay? Now you show me any Nigerian names on there. None. Because they weren't claiming no compensation. And I'm going for my compensation. Because I was one of the people that was paying taxes to pay compensation, and so did my grandma, so did my mother, and so did my children, into this racist system that compensated the slave owners and not the enslaved. So reparations time is now. So don't talk to me, don't come in my life and talk to me. I am dealing, right, with the slave trade. Okay, that's what I'm dealing with. The slave trade. This is proof of the slave trade. Okay? Akron owned what? What does it say? 66 slaves. Andiani owned 47 slaves. Akram owned 48 slaves. Adam had 49 slaves. That's evidence. Tell me now, come on, tell me. So don't talk to me. Don't talk to me about anything else. You're going to be held accountable. Yeah? White faces in high places, you're going to be held accountable because you're living off the wealth and the riches, which was the death, which was the heinous crimes done to our ancestors. For 573 years, you're going to pay up. Okay? You're going to pay up for every single life that was taken. You're going to pay up for every single person that was tortured and whipped to death. You're going to pay up for every single dog that you set on to maul and destroy and rip to pieces, ancestors. You're going to pay up for every pregnant woman who you stabbed in her stomach and made her bury her child because she was raped by a slave owner. You're going to pay up. You're going to pay up for every single mother who had her child taken off her breast and sold into slavery. You're going to pay up for every household that was torn apart, where the husband was taken away from his wife and sold to another plantation. You're going to pay up for the voyage and how many people died of starvation on that voyage. How many people died of disease and dysentery on that voyage. How many people even threw themselves into the sea. How many people were thrown over to the sea because they couldn't be sold. You threw them away like cargo, tied them down with rocks, and you're going to pay up. That's all I know. And the names here, I ain't got nothing more. I rest my case, yo. I said I weren't going into 3 hours, and I have. So, you know, today has been a huge show because we shouldn't have been in Jamaica in the first place. We were brought there for sugar. Okay? We were brought there for sugar cane, brought there for tobacco, brought there for rum. Yeah, for their consumption. And it should never ever go unmentioned, never ever go forgotten. And don't forget, tell your children, make sure the future generation know. And no, we were not responsible for slavery. 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 And don't let any ignorant, stupid, right, racist white person tell you any otherwise. Make them take the blame. Make them take responsibility. Make them accountable for what they've done. It's time for us to get paid back. It's time for a revolution. The time for reparations is now. Okay, so BlaXit family, remember, we're one people, one Africa, one nation. Okay, one destiny. I love you. And it's time for a revolution. Stop eating sugar. Stop buying sugary goods. It's time for a boycott of sugar. I've already told you what sugar has done to our ancestors. I've told you the money that was made from sugar. So what can we do? Stop eating sugar today. Okay, I love you, and I'll see you again, same time, same place. Remember, it's 3 o'clock UK time. Okay, 3 o'clock UK time. So the UK has got winter sunlight saving hours. So before it would have been like Gambia time 2 o'clock, but now it's Gambian time 3 o'clock. Okay, so it will be 3 o'clock, so it'll be like an hour forward. Okay. So for all of you, I will try and see if I can do it a bit earlier to catch you just for one last week. Okay, so I love you, and I will leave you, and I appreciate you being with me on this journey this week. This has been a journey to London, yeah, sugar and slavery, okay, and also to our national Jamaican heroes as well, you know, and a moment of silence and support. And I will put out the information if you want to help those people that have been devastated by Hurricane Melissa. I will put the information out on the community page so you can join the town, the meeting, which is tomorrow, I believe. So I'll put it on afterwards. So I'm going to love you and leave you and bid you goodbye and thank you. And just remind yourself that I love you and you love yourself too. Okay, we must love ourselves over and above everything else. They've tried to make us hate ourselves. We cannot allow this to happen. Okay, we must remember that we are divine beings, okay, and we come from a rich heritage, a fantastic heritage, a great heritage, a strong heritage, and Africa is the place to be. And if you want to come back to Africa, yeah, there are ways that you can do it, and there's still ways that you can do it bite-sized, where we can help you bit by bit, small by small. You can still get your land and pay in installments that's affordable for you, okay? We can help you with that. So get on board, join, you know, BlaXit, get involved with the family, and I'm going to love you and leave you. And remember, right, stay strong. And don't let any of these racists get on your nerves. Stay strong. Remember who you are. You come from powerful, great people. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here today. They fought for us, for our freedom. Okay, well, relative freedom. All right, I love you, BlaXit family. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. So I thank you so much, and I love you, and I appreciate you. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and please like and share the video.